I guess so.
Su Qianqian answered vaguely.
She couldn't say that she went to the auction. However, speaking of it, when she was confronting the Great Witch, she should have hidden in the space of the Realm Stone, and she wouldn't have caused so much trouble. Alas, it was all because I was too nervous at that time, so nervous that I forgot that I had the Realm Stone space. Su Qianqian knocked her head in annoyance. However, is she the only one who can enter the space inside the Realm Stone? I'll find someone to try it when I'm free. After thinking about it, Su Qianqian put the exposed Realm Stone back into her clothes, took out the antidote she had stolen earlier, and asked, "Inshuo, can you help me check if this antidote is real?" Inshuo glanced at it and said 2 words lightly. "Fake." "Really?" Su Qianqian gritted her teeth in anger. What a waste of words. Nadora and the Great Witch teamed up to lure her into the trap with a fake antidote. All of this must have been planned before she knocked Dora unconscious. Inshuo looked at Su Qianqian, who was so angry that she gnashed her teeth, and reluctantly took out a small animal skin bag from his arms and said, "The real antidote is here. I've got it for you." "Really?" Su Qianqian's eyes lit up instantly when she heard that, and she hurried to look at the small animal skin bag in Inshuo's hand. She picked it up and smelled it, and it had a faint medicinal fragrance, which was completely different from her own bag of fake medicine. "Thank you, Inshuo." Su Qianqian happily climbed up from the bed and gave Inshuo a big hug. "No, you're welcome." The girl's active hug made Inshuo's ears slightly red. He lowered his head shyly and was about to hug her back, but Su Qianqian had already retracted her arm, picked up the real antidote, and stuffed it into the storage ring, saying, "Inshuo, now that you've found the antidote, I'll go detoxify those slaves first." Inshuo silently withdrew his outstretched hand, and after a long while he uttered a word. "Okay." After saying that, he quickly added, "I'll go with you." Su Qianqian thought about it and decided that it was okay. The invisibility cloak couldn't be used for the time being, so she would need Inshuo's help. She nodded and said, "Okay." After saying that, she took out a disguise cloak from her storage ring and put it on, transforming herself into Su Mu's appearance in front of Inshuo. Su Mu's identity was safe for the time being. When the time came, she would disguise herself as an attendant or slave of Inshuo and sneak in to deliver the antidote to Shan Mao and the others. After planning everything, Su Qianqian led Inshuo towards the cave. However, after coming out of the cave and seeing the situation outside, Su Qianqian was so shocked by the shock of disbelief that she stood there in shock. Countless orc warriors, holding sharp stone spears, surrounded the cave tightly, making it impossible to get in or out. Duo Luo led the 4 city lords and the 4 great wizards of the main cities and stood opposite, watching the 2 people walking out of the cave leisurely. "Inshuo, do you really think I didn't recognize you just now?" Duo Luo looked coldly at Inshuo opposite him, with a rare look of pride on his face. Inshuo's face darkened. "Duo, it turns out that you are the one who did all this." "Nonsense." Inshuo had just opened his mouth when Shiju, the lord of West City, immediately scolded him. "Inshuo, as the future heir of West City, how can you go along with outsiders and do something that is detrimental to Wanzhou City? Not good for the City of Beasts?" Inshuo sneered when he heard this. "Why do you say that, Lord Shijue? If you think that sacrificing slaves is good for the City of Beasts, then why do you stay out of it? Lord Shijue, you are afraid of them, but I am not. If I have to live as humbly as you do under their eyes, then I would rather not be the lord of this West City." Not sure if it was because Inshuo's words hit the nail on the head, or if it was because of Inshuo's words that Shiju's whole body trembled uncontrollably, and the fingers that pointed at Inshuo and cursed him also trembled. "Inshuo, you are the future heir of the Silver Eagle family. How can you say such treasonous words? Have you forgotten your father's teachings?" After saying that, he immediately turned his gaze to Su Qianqian next to him and angrily scolded her. "Also, you are so shameless. You, the heir, are willing to be a slave to an outsider. Where do you put the face of the entire Silver Eagle family? Why can't I be her slave?" Inshuo said coldly. "She saved me, My life belongs to her, so why not be her slave? Shiju was so angry that his hands were shaking again. You said that. Do you want to abandon the Silver Eagle family that raised you for many years? Master Shijua, have you forgotten? Inshua looked coldly at the great wizard behind him. You are the ones who abandoned me first. From the moment he was ruthlessly executed by the great witch of the Silver Eagle family, he was no longer a member of the Silver Eagle family. Shijua was so angry that he couldn't say anything to refute. That's enough, Shijua. What else do you want to say to this shameless orc who betrayed the family? The Lord of South City said impatiently, since he has fallen into depravity and become a slave to others, let him go. Isn't Duo Luo the future heir of West City? That's right. The Lord of Dongcheng also chimed in. All of this today is thanks to Duo Luo's idea. If he hadn't suggested that we put something that can track the smell in the antidote package in advance, we wouldn't have been able to catch this guy. After these words were spoken, Duo Luo's smug look became even more pronounced. On the opposite side looked gloomy as she glanced at the fake medicine in her hand that she had not yet thrown away. As expected, she should have thought of it earlier. There's nothing wrong with the invisibility cloak. The problem is this fake antidote. The reason why the Great Witch of West City was able to locate her position all the time was because of the smell in the fake antidote. Juro, I underestimated you. Su Qianqian threw away the fake medicine in her hand and looked at Juro across from her. But there is one thing I don't understand. You were clearly knocked unconscious by me, so why did you wake up so early? You think. At this time, an ordinary-looking orc warrior stood up from behind the 4 city lords. In the blink of an eye, he turned into an elderly orc with gray hair and beard. Are you the only one in the world who can change your appearance? A great wizard who can disguise himself. Su Qianqian's pupils trembled, and she understood everything in an instant. She knocked unconscious was not Duo Luo, but the 7th-level wizard who had transformed into Duo Luo. Hateful. Su Qianqian gritted her teeth in hatred. She was too careless this time. She didn't even realize that Duo Luo at that time was the Great Witch in disguise. Why are you still talking to them? Arrest these 2 and execute them. The Lord of North City waved his hand, and many orc warriors gathered around. You sinister fellows. A silver light flashed on Inshua's body, and he instantly turned into a silver eagle. He waved his huge silver wings, and the hurricane he created blew away the surrounding orc warriors. Who was protected by the Great Witch of Xiqing, immediately changed his expression. Inshua, when did you become a 5th-level orc? As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 3 city lords present changed one after another. 5th-level supernatural power. They lived for hundreds of years before they could reach the level of 5th-order supernatural power. Inshua, a member of the younger generation, had lived for even less than a fraction of their age. How could he possibly reach the level of 5th-order supernatural power in such a short time? When Duo Luo heard this, his original smug look instantly disappeared, and he urged the surrounding orc warriors like crazy. What are you standing there for? Go up and kill him. Kill Inshua, the traitor. Inshua must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he will never be able to become the Lord of West City. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, countless ice cones shot towards him, piercing through his limbs and bones at lightning speed. With a few puff sounds, Duo Luo vomited blood and fell to the ground. Diora. Shijua's face was shocked. He looked at Su Qianqian holding an ice cone opposite him in disbelief. It turned out that she was another powerful person with 5th-level supernatural powers. When the other 3 city lords saw Su Qianqian using the ice-based ability, their already bad expressions became even uglier. As the city lords of Wanzhou City, they were most proud of their 5th-order ability. However, the reality before them seemed to have ruthlessly slapped them in the face, telling them that there are always people better than you. Fortunately, the great wizard behind them stepped forward in time. The great wizards in the 4 main cities of the southeast, northwest, northeast, and southwest are all powerful warriors with 7th-level supernatural powers. Standing together, they are extremely oppressive. The Great Wizard of West City made the first move, spreading his golden wings behind him and charging straight towards Inshoa. Seeing this, Su Qianqian quickly condensed countless ice cones with her hands and attacked the remaining 3 Great Wizards on the opposite side. The Great Wizard of East City instantly transformed into the appearance of a giant lion. He raised his head and let out a long roar. The roar was deafening, and the flying ice cones were shattered in an instant, turning them all into powder. Su Qianqian was shocked. For the first time, she felt the gap between the 5th-level superpower and the 7th-level superpower. Her 5th-level ice power was almost crushed. At the same time, the Great Witch of Nanqing also transformed into a beast, a giant elephant. He swung his long trunk and attacked Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian quickly stepped back to dodge, while condensing an ice crystal barrier to block in front of her. However, when she turned around, she saw Inshoa standing behind her, looking at her with a smile on his face. "No, Inshoa, you are not in the sky with." Su Qianqian subconsciously looked up at the 2 figures fighting in the sky and reacted instantly, but it was still a step too late. Inshoa in front of her had already opened his claws and attacked her in the face. At the critical moment, a gray wolf swooped over, picked up Su Qianqian, and left the spot.
Lang Yan?
Su Qianqian recognized it as Lang Yan's beast form at a glance. "Why are you here? Don't talk, deal with the person in front of you first." Lang Yan shook his gray, blue fur, revealing a rare, ferocious look, and his pair of gray-blue animal eyes stared fiercely at Inshoa opposite him. Su Qianqian turned around and saw that Inshoa had turned into the old, white-haired orc. He still had a smile on his face, but that smile was full of sinister and cunning. Just a little bit short. What a pity. Damn it, I got cheated again. Su Qianqian gritted her teeth and stared at the white-haired old orc opposite her. This great witch from the North City was really cunning. If she was not careful, she would be fooled by him. What? Are the orcs from the Grey Wolf tribe also going to be enemies with the 4 city lords of our 10,000 beast city? Seeing the Grey Wolf appear, the lord of the North City behind the Great Witch immediately frowned. "It's not a matter of whether we are enemies or not, it's just..." Lang Yan slowly walked in front of Su Qianqian and protected her behind him. "There are people here who I want to protect, so I'm sorry." Damn it. The North City lord's face immediately darkened. A small orc from the Grey Wolf tribe dared to interfere in this matter. "Don't blame me for being merciless." After saying that, he attacked Lang Yan directly. Lang Yan roared and rushed forward. When the two collided, the powerful energy like a tidal wave instantly knocked away countless orc warriors around. The Lord of the North City was knocked away by this energy, fell to the ground, and spit out blood. How is this possible? The Lord of North City lay on the ground, looking up at Lang Yan opposite him in disbelief. He dared to attack Lang Yan directly because he thought Lang Yan was just a 4th-level orc who was easy to bully, but he didn't expect that this guy's strength was not inferior to that of a 5th-level orc. Lang Yan is only a 4th-level beastman. He is a 4th-level beastman of the power system. As the saying goes, one strength can defeat 10 skills. In the face of such power, any fancy techniques are vulnerable. Let me deal with him. The Great Wizard of Nanqing stepped forward and attacked Lang Yan with his huge trunk. Lang Yan did not retreat, but went forward as usual. However, there is a huge disparity in power between the 4th-level superpower and the 7th-level superpower. Lang Yan soon became exhausted under the attack of the 7th-level wizard.
Lang Yan.
Su Qianqian wanted to help, but the white-haired old orc flashed and blocked her in an instant. "Your opponent is me." Damn it. Su Qianqian subconsciously took a step back, but when she turned around, the giant witch lion from East City also blocked her way. The 2 great witches surrounded her from the front and back, and there were 4 city lords standing beside her, ready to launch a sneak attack at any time. They were outnumbered and powerful, while there were only 3 of them in total, so they were no match for these guys at all. Su Qianqian gritted her teeth and used both hands to shoot out countless ice cones again. While the 2 great wizards were dodging, she hurriedly opened the plane system and released Huyang from the pet space. A white light came on, and a handsome silver-haired man appeared in front of everyone. He had bare arms, strong and smooth muscles, and an oppressive feeling came over them. The young master of the White Tiger tribe? The 4 city lords were dumbfounded when they saw the person in front of them. However, what surprised them even more was that Huyang, who appeared out of nowhere, didn't even glance at the orcs around him, but threw himself directly onto Su Qianqian and said in a coquettish tone that was extremely inconsistent with his burly figure, "Qianqian, you finally let me out. I missed you so much." Su Qianqian did not push him away and said seriously, "Huyang, I need your help this time." "Help?" Huyang paused, then he saw the surrounding situation clearly. Countless orc warriors surrounded the place tightly, and the 4 city lords and the 2 great wizards next to them were watching this place covetously. "Qianqian, are you going to kill these people?" Huyang, who reacted, did not show a trace of fear on his face. Instead, he licked the corner of his lips impatiently, and his beautiful amber eyes were filled with an uncontrollable bloodthirsty fanaticism. White tigers are naturally aggressive orcs. When he was with Su Qianqian, he had been suppressing his nature, fearing that his bloodthirsty and brutal side would scare her away. Today, he had a rare opportunity to show his strength, and he couldn't wait to take action. Whatever. As soon as Su Qianqian finished speaking, Huyang attacked the 4 city lords on the opposite side who obviously had bad intentions. The 4 city lords were startled and retreated one after another. Lang Yan had already taught them a lesson. They did not dare to underestimate Huyang, who was also a 4th-level orc. And Huyang did not disappoint everyone. The moment he rushed forward, the ground beneath his feet suddenly shook. The originally flat ground suddenly cracked into countless huge cracks. Rocks dozens of meters high suddenly rose from the ground, almost instantly blocking the escape route of the 4 city lords. It's an earth-related ability. Get back quickly. The face of the great wizard of East City changed, and he rushed forward with a roaring lion body to resist the fierce attack of Huyang. Very good. We have captured another great witch. Looking at the white tiger and the giant lion fighting, Su Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief and immediately aimed the ice cone in her hand at the white-haired older orc beside her. "I didn't expect you to have so many helpers." The cunning and frivolous look on the face of the Great Witch of North City disappeared, and the look in his eyes when he looked at Su Qianqian had a hint of caution and fear. Su Qianqian didn't want to waste any more time talking to him. She quickly condensed more and sharper ice cones with her hands. She waved her arms, and all the ice cones shot towards the Great Wizard of North City like thousands of arrows. Huyang and Lang Yan are only 4th-level orcs, and they can't last long under the hands of the 7th-level wizard. She has to get rid of this difficult and cunning guy as soon as possible. The Great Wizard of North City has the ability to change his appearance at will. His fighting ability is far inferior to that of the other great wizards. Faced with tens of thousands of flying ice cones, he couldn't help but get nervous and immediately asked for help from the 4 city lords nearby. Except for Shijue of West City, the other 3 city lords all took action. But the 3 of them together could only barely resist Su Qianqian's attack. "Shiju, why are you standing there? Why don't you help me?" The Lord of South City cursed anxiously. Shiju glanced at Inshua, who was fighting with the Great Witch of Xiqing in the sky, then looked at Su Qianqian opposite him, and a trace of struggle flashed in his eyes. Logically, as the Lord of West City, he should stand on the side of Wanshou City. But emotionally, he shouldn't attack Inshua's savior. In this struggle, Inshua, who was fighting fiercely with the Great Wizard of West City in the air, gradually fell into a disadvantage and was soon hit by the opponent and fell from the air. "Inshua!" Su Qianqian and Shijue exclaimed at the same time. Inshua fell to the ground with wounds all over his body. There were several holes pierced on his silver-gray wings by the golden feather arrows. It was bloody and particularly terrifying. After all, Inshua had just reached the 5th level and was far from being a match for a 7th-level wizard. He had already tried his best to hold on until now. Su Qianqian wanted to check on Inshua's injury, but the next second she was blocked by the Great Wizard of North City. "I told you your opponent is me. Get out of here." Su Qianqian was rarely angry. She shot out several ice cones with one hand and threw out a few thorn seeds with the other. The surging thorns temporarily trapped the Great Wizard of North City. Su Qianqian took this opportunity to rush to Inshuo and asked, "Inshuo, how are you?" The silver eagle bird turned back into human form, with bloody holes all over its arms. He shook his head with difficulty and tried to smile at Su Qianqian. "I'm fine, Qianqian, you don't have to worry." However, just as he finished speaking, the Great Wizard of West City flew down in front of him with a sky full of golden feather arrows. Seeing this, Inshuo subconsciously protected Su Qianqian behind him. "Inshuo, you still don't repent." The Great Wizard of West City looked at the two people in front of him expressionlessly, his golden pupils full of indifference. "I'll give you one more chance. As long as you kill her and take back the family's sacred object in her body, I can spare your life."
Huh?
Inshuo wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said word by word, "Absolutely impossible." Very good. The patience of the Great Wizard of West City had been exhausted. Even though he admired Inshuo's talent and had held back just now, such a disobedient heir should not be allowed to stay in this world. He raised his right hand mercilessly, and tens of thousands of golden feather arrows were aimed at the two people. "In this case, then you both should die together." Su Qianqian raised her hand again, preparing to condense ice crystals to resist, but Shiju suddenly stood in front of them. "Spare them, Great Witch. I beg you." "Shiju, whose side are you going to stand on?" Before the Great Wizard could speak, the Lord of Nanqing next to him roared, "If you insist on protecting them, then you are going against all the orcs in our Wanshou city." Shiju ignored the roar of the Lord of South City, still staring at the Great Witch opposite him, and said, "I have no objection to whoever you want to serve or whoever you want to deal with, but I only ask you to spare Inshuo's life. You have already killed him once, and the mistake of violating the clan rules has been offset, so why are you still trying to pick on him?" "Offset?" The Great Wizard's face was slightly cold, and his originally cold and ruthless golden eyes were stained with a hint of anger. "Shiju, do you think this can be offset? If you think you can't make up for it." Shiju gritted his teeth, a look of determination flashed across his face, and then, as if he had made up his mind, he took a step forward and said word by word, "Then step over my dead body and pay with my life." "Shiju, are you crazy?" When the Lord of Nanqing heard this, he couldn't hold it anymore and rushed over to stop Shiju. Seeing this, Su Qianqian threw out a few thorn seeds again to trap the Lord of South City. She glanced at the battle situation nearby. Lang Yen and Hu Yang were gradually losing the upper hand to the two great wizards and would soon be unable to hold on. She had to find a way to escape as soon as possible. After thinking about it, she looked at the Great Wizard of West City opposite, who was currently confronting Shiju. Among these four Great Wizards, the most difficult to deal with is the Great Wizard of the Silver Eagle family in West City. His golden feather arrows are like laser guns, with a long range and extremely strong lethality. Even her ice crystal barrier can hardly resist it. If she can't defeat him, then she, alone with Hu Yang, Lang Yan, and Inshuo, will never escape his pursuit. We must find a way to deal with him first. Su Qianqian's fingers touched the storage ring silently. She was thinking about what she could use to deal with the Great Wizard of West City. When she caught a glimpse of the golden feather arrows entwined in the sky from the corner of her eye, an idea suddenly came to her mind. Oh, and she has a gun too. Su Qianqian really took out the particle ray gun that she bought from the interstellar plane and pulled the trigger without hesitation at the West City Wizard opposite. Invisible rays shot out, and the Great Wizard who was originally confronting Shijue seemed to have sensed the dangerous attack and suddenly retreated dozens of meters away. But it was still a step too slow. The particle beam with a range of several thousand meters penetrated the golden wings of the Great Wizard at a faster speed. Her attack instantly angered the Great Wizard of West City. He no longer held back and waved his hand, and countless golden feather arrows shot towards him. This, Shijue made a quick decision and transformed into a beast. He grabbed Su Qianqian's waist and back with his eagle claws and flew high into the sky at an extremely fast speed, avoiding the attack of the golden feather arrows. Shiju, you actually dared to save them. The Lord of Nanching looked up at the giant eagle in the sky and shouted angrily, "From now on, you are the enemy of Wenzhou City, just like them." Thank you. Su Qianqian, who was riding on the giant eagle's back, was still in a daze. She didn't expect Shijue to actually save her in such a critical situation. Looking at the giant eagle that was even bigger than Yin Shua's original form, Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh that the orcs of the Silver Eagle family were so convenient to travel. Just like an airplane, they could fly high into the sky at any time to avoid danger. Don't thank me yet. Let's find a way to deal with that guy quickly. He is too strong. Even I am no match for him. The giant eagle under him made a sound of fainting. Su Qianqian turned her head and saw that the great wizard of West City had also transformed into a giant eagle and was chasing after her. His beast form was even bigger than Shijue's, like a spaceship. It's okay. Su Qianqian glanced at the particle ray gun in her hand. He will soon be unable to fly. The particle ray gun have extremely strong penetrating power and can accurately destroy tissue cells. At the moment, the Great Wizard of West City looks fine on the surface, but starting from the wing that was shot, the trauma will continue to spread and expand, and it won't be long before his entire wing will be disabled. As if to verify Su Qianqian's words, she had just finished speaking when the Great Wizard, who was chasing her, suddenly stiffened and fell straight to the ground, landing next to Yin Shua. Seeing this, Su Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief and quickly looked at the other three Great Wizards. They found it unbelievable that the Great Wizard of West City suddenly crashed his plane. After all, the Great Wizard of West City was the strongest among the four of them. If even he was defeated, then they... Thinking, the three Great Wizards were suddenly shocked. Even though they couldn't see it, they could feel that something extremely dangerous was shooting towards them. The three of them retreated in unison to the back of the orc warriors next to them. The next second, the orc warriors standing in front of them fell to the ground one after another. Who saw this scene from high in the sky couldn't help but sigh. She was a step too slow and let them get away. So she raised the particle ray gun again and aimed it at the three Great Wizards. However, the next second, Su Qianqian was so angry at their shameless behavior that she put down the particle ray gun. The three of them suddenly appeared behind Hu Yang and Lang Yan. Obviously, they had realized the power of the thing in Su Qianqian's hand and tried to use Hu Yang and Lang Yan's bodies as shields. "Qianqian, look here." At this moment, Hu Yang below suddenly waved at Su Qianqian in the sky. He waved his arm and calmly pointed at the rocks that were faintly shaking in the huge crack next to him. Su Qianqian instantly understood Hu Yang's intention and said quickly, "Master Shijue, please lure the three witches to the crack." Okay. Shiju agreed very quickly, without asking the reason, and directly carried Su Qianqian to the vicinity of the crack. The three great witches saw Su Qianqian put away her gun. They immediately thought they had captured her and chased her to the vicinity of the crack. However, the next second, the huge crack trembled violently and a 1,000-meter-high rock rose from the ground, instantly trapping the three great wizards inside. Seeing this, Su Qianqian quickly aimed the particle ray gun in her hand at the giant rock that was 1,000 meters high and fired 5 particle rays in succession. 5 rays landed on the rock quickly and accurately. The collision and friction caused a huge and violent explosion, which directly smashed the 1,000-meter-high rock into ruins. The three great wizards were completely buried underneath. At the same time, Hu Yang also fell to the ground with a pale face. The giant 1,000-meter-high rock he had just launched had consumed all the supernatural powers in his body. Now, he didn't even have the strength to stand up. "Hu Yang, come up quickly." Su Qianqian's voice rang in his ears, and Hu Yang subconsciously turned his head to look, only to see an eagle's claw grabbing his waist and back, and then throwing him on its back. Immediately afterwards, Yin Shua and Lang Yan, who were the most seriously injured, were thrown onto the eagle's back one after another. The 3 city lords saw this and wanted to chase after them, but without the great wizard, they were like wild beasts with their claws pulled out and were completely vulnerable. Yin Shua and his men were seriously injured. Su Qianqian didn't want to continue to fight with them, so she simply threw down a few thorn seeds to trap them. So, in the eyes of all the orcs in the city of beasts, Shijue, carrying the 4 male orcs who had fought the Great Witch, rushed into the sky and disappeared. Where to? High in the sky, the giant eagle below asked. Su Qianqian glanced at the 3 people beside her. Yin Shua was the most seriously injured. Hu Yang's energy was greatly depleted, and he was completely unable to move. As for Lang Yan, he had wounds of varying sizes all over his body. This time, they suffered heavy casualties. Not only did they fail to rescue the slaves, they almost lost their lives. Su Qianqian sighed helplessly and then said, "Go to the forest of 10,000 beasts." She pointed to Shijue, the area where the carnivorous plants were. "It is safe here for the time being, so let's take Yin Shua and the others here to rest and heal their wounds." Shijue still didn't ask any more questions. He flapped his huge wings and flew straight to the forest of 10,000 beasts. It didn't take long before they arrived at the fertile land. As soon as Su Qianqian jumped off the eagle's back, she saw Shi Fang, and the others were also here.
Sumu.
Shi Yuan rushed over impatiently. "You finally escaped. You don't know that the whole Wanshou city is looking for you. Shi Fang and I quickly brought Xiaojiu here to wait for you, but I didn't expect you to really come." After saying that, he couldn't help but reach out to hold Su Qianqian's shoulders. "Su Mu, you are so amazing. You dare to deal with those 4 great witches alone. You don't even know those 4 great witches are." He was halfway through his speech when his voice suddenly stopped. Yin Shua grabbed Shi Yuan's arm that was around Su Qianqian's shoulders and said coldly, "Let go." "No, who are you? Why should I let go?" Shi Yuan immediately became dissatisfied and shook off Yin Shua's hand. Unexpectedly, Yin Shua was already injured, and after being thrown so hard by Shi Yuan, he took 2 steps back and couldn't help spitting out blood. His already pale face became even paler. "What the hell?" Shi Yuan stepped back in fear. "I didn't push you. You rushed over on your own." After that, he quickly hid behind Su Qianqian and said, "Su Mu, you have to testify for me. I really didn't push him. He came up to try to scam me."
You.
"Get out of here." Yin Shua looked at Shi Yuan's sly expression and became even more angry. "Stay away from her, and don't stay around her."
No.
"You." Seeing Yin Shua about to rush over, Su Qianqian quickly held him down. All right. Don't be impulsive. You're still injured." Shi Yuan, who was trying to provoke Yin Shua, was kicked in the butt by Nan Wu and dragged away. "Stop disturbing me, okay?" Shijue looked at this lively group of people and his originally worried heart completely relaxed. He folded his wings and transformed back into human form. Shi Fang, who was standing beside him, saw this and immediately straightened his expression. "The Lord of West City." As soon as these words were spoken, Shi Yuan and Nenwu instantly became alert and both took defensive stances. Su Qianqian saw this and quickly said, "Don't get excited. It was Lord Shijue who saved us. He is different from the 3 city lords." After hearing this, the people from all over the world breathed a sigh of relief. "So it was the Lord of West City who saved you." Nanmu looked at Shiju with a serious face, then at Yin Shua next to him, as if he had guessed something. He didn't say much, but gave Shi Fang a look. Shi Fang immediately understood his hint, and the look he gave Yin Shua changed. Only Shi Yuan, a thick-skinned man, was unaware that he was demonstrating towards Yin Shua opposite him and kept waving his fists. Fortunately, Yin Shua was too lazy to pay attention to him at this moment. Su Qianqian was pulling his injured arm and continuously transferring wood-related supernatural powers into it. Compared to before, her wood-based abilities were much stronger. Although Yin Shua was seriously injured, with the healing power of the 5th-level wood-based abilities, those wounds deep enough to see the bones quickly recovered as good as new. After healing Yin Shua's wound, Su Qianqian did not stop and hurried to see Hu Yang next to him. Hu Yang didn't have many injuries on his body, and after resting for a while, he recovered some strength. Finally, Su Qianqian looked at Lang Yan, who was sitting in the distance. At this moment, Lang Yan was also staring at Su Qianqian opposite him. He didn't know how long he had been staring at her. His gaze was deep and heavy, like the calm sea in the dark night, with no clues to be seen. But Su Qianqian knew that her identity, which she had been hiding, could no longer be hidden under such a gaze. She exhaled slowly and then walked over. Lang Yan, let me help you. Heal your wounds. Su Qianqian tried her best to maintain a normal tone. Lang Yan didn't say anything, but silently raised his arm and handed it over. Su Qianqian looked at Lang Yan's arm. The wound was still bleeding, the skin was torn, and the white bones beneath the flesh were vaguely visible. The blows of those great witches were too heavy-handed, but Lang Yan seemed not to feel any pain at all. He looked at her calmly, without saying a word. Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Then she calmed her mind and began to use her wood-based abilities to help Lang Yan heal his wounds. As the thick green light lit up, the wound on Lang Yan's arm gradually stopped bleeding, and the broken flesh healed little by little. Only after all of Lang Yan's wounds were healed did Su Qianqian finally breathe a sigh of relief. After using so many supernatural powers in one go throughout the entire day, she felt a little tired. But seeing Lang Yan's still calm expression, Su Qianqian couldn't help but ask, Lang Yan, when did you start to discover my identity? Was it because of the lingering scent of my past on Inshua? More than that. Lang Yan glanced at Inshua in the distance and said calmly, when I rescued him from Ronggu, it was indeed because he had your scent on him, but what really made me suspicious was that the way he appeared after his supernatural power breakthrough
Was the same as mine back then.
Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this. What does this mean? I've seen many male orcs break through their powers. Although it's difficult and dangerous to upgrade, it's far from causing their entire bodies to burn up. Lang Yan slowly retracted his gaze and looked at Su Qianqian in front of him. You used your powers on him just like I did back then. Su Qianqian couldn't help but look at her palm in surprise when she heard this. Was Inshua's breakthrough due to the fact that she had used her wood power to treat him? Is that so? Are her abilities really so magical that they can actually induce others to upgrade their abilities? Thinking, Su Qianqian couldn't help but glance at Lang Yan across from her. So, he separated from her in the first place to find Inshua, wanting to confirm his identity from Inshua again, but Inshua didn't admit it, so he followed him secretly all the way. Well, I have to say that Lang Yan is a very deep-minded guy.
Su Qianqian sighed helplessly.
It was fine that Hu Yang had marked her with a scent, but she had never expected that Lang Yan could actually recognize her identity with the special nature of his abilities. She had clearly been very careful.
But,
Lang Yan, why did you come to Wanzhou City? Su Qianqian asked the biggest question in her mind. The man opposite was stunned when he heard this. His gray-blue eyes drooped slightly, as if he was afraid to look at her. Because he could finish his words, a fierce quarrel was heard nearby. What did you say? Why should I leave? Who do you think you are? I haven't come to terms with you for kidnapping Qianqian yet. Qianqian doesn't need a stupid white tiger beast man like you to stay by her side. She only needs me. Who are you calling stupid? Damn big bird. Su Qianqian turned around and saw that Inshua and Hu Yang suddenly started arguing for some unknown reason, and several people from Shifeng were trying to help them stop fighting. Hey, what are you guys arguing about? What's this about shallow or not shallow? Stop it now. This is not the time for internal strife. Shi Yuan and Shifeng were each pulling one child, but they could hardly hold on any longer. Nan Wu was squeezed in the middle, looking like he was about to cry. This scene can be described as enemies meeting, with eyes set on each other with jealousy. There was no other way. Su Qianqian could only abandon Lang Yan and quickly run over to stop them. Both of you, stop it. Whoever starts fighting will get out of here, together. With a scolding, the two men who were originally at loggerheads suddenly quieted down. Qianqian, Hu Yang saw her walking over and immediately broke free from Shifeng's hand. He quickly rushed towards her and complained pitifully, he was the one who bullied me first. You have to take charge of me. Seeing him clinging to Su Qianqian, Inshua became more jealous. His big, bony hands couldn't help but turn into sharp eagle claws. He almost roared, "I told you to stay away from Qianqian, didn't you hear me? I won't. Qianqian and I have a good relationship, so I just want to stick to her. If anyone wants to leave, it should be you, the big bird." As if relying on the presence of Su Qianqian by his side, Hu Yang became more and more excited and provoking. Damn it! In Shua's eyes turned red with anger, and a pair of silver-gray wings instantly spread out from his broad shoulders. "If you have the guts, come and fight me. Whoever loses will get out. Okay, who's afraid of who? Come on." Seeing this scene, Hu Yang seemed to have instantly aroused the violent gene buried in his body. He licked his lips bloodthirstily, turned around, and turned into a white tiger. A tiger and an eagle, both transformed into mighty beasts, faced each other, and a war was about to break out. Su Qianqian saw that she couldn't stop it, so she could only take a deep breath and then slowly said, "You two, leave together. I don't need teammates who are always fighting among themselves. I'm serious." The tone was cold and calm, and it didn't sound like a joke at all. The two men who were about to rush forward for a fierce fight stopped suddenly upon hearing this. "Qianqian, please don't." Hu Yang reacted very quickly and turned back into human form. He quickly hugged Su Qianqian's arm and begged for mercy. "I didn't want to fight with him. Don't chase me away. I was wrong. Isn't that okay?" Su Qianqian shook off his hand and said calmly, "Don't act like a spoiled child with me. This matter is not negotiable. You all can go. I won't stop you from fighting wherever you want." After saying that, she decisively turned around and left, completely ignoring the two of them. Seeing this, In Shua quickly changed back into human form and ran after her. "Qianqian, I was wrong too. Please don't ignore me." Su Qianqian covered her ears, looking like she didn't want to listen to any explanation at all. She took big strides and kept walking forward. "Qianqian, I was really wrong." The two finally stopped arguing and chased after him. At this moment, the people from Shifeng were standing beside Lang Yan, staring at this scene in astonishment, and asked in amazement, "Why did the two of them?"
Kol sumu Qianqian?
Lang Yan stood there like a man watching a fight between two tigers, with a calm face. When he heard the three people's questions, he smiled and said in a friendly manner, "That's Suma's nickname, given to her by Suma's mother. The two of them knew Suma for a long time and are used to calling her that." "Oh, I see." The three of them nodded in sudden enlightenment, without doubting Lang Yan's words at all. Lang Yan looked at Hu Yang and In Shua, who were chasing after him relentlessly. Although he had a smile on his face, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Su Qianqian stopped after chasing into a dense forest not far away. She looked around at the trees in the area. The trunks were thick, hard, and flexible, making them very suitable for building houses. Seeing the two people chasing after them, Su Qianqian said, "You two want to fight, don't you? Since you have so much energy, come on, help me cut down all the trees in this area." "What?" The two were stunned and looked at each other at the same time. Su Qianqian took out her phone and flipped through some pictures to show them, saying, "Just like this, cut off the extra leaves and branches from the cut trees and arrange them one by one." The two of them stared at their phones for a long time, nodded as if they understood, then glared at each other fiercely and said in unison, "Qianqian, don't worry, I will definitely cut down all the trees in this forest." After saying that, the two men, as if afraid of having their credit taken away from them, quickly separated and each occupied half of the area and began to work. Hu Yang slapped down with his tiger claw, and dozens of tall trees fell to the ground like dominoes. On the other side, In Shua was no less powerful. He flapped his silver-gray wings, and the hurricane that swept over uprooted a row of trees. Su Qianqian looked at it and nodded with satisfaction. If they continued at this pace, it wouldn't be long before they would have enough wood to build the house. "Then you two should work hard. There will be rewards when you finish." After saying this, Su Qianqian turned and left. Halfway through, she stopped again, feeling somewhat worried. She turned back and warned again, "If I find out that you two are arguing again, there will be no room for negotiation. Both of you get out of here. Okay, we won't quarrel. Both areas at the same time." Only then did Su Qianqian feel at ease to leave. Anyway, they were tired from work, so no matter how many grudges they had no intention of dealing with each other. When Su Qianqian came back, Shifang had already started a fire and was preparing to roast something to eat. After working all day, they were already starving. Su Qianqian took a few glances and found that the animal meat that Shifang and the others brought with them was already inedible due to the hot weather, but they didn't have the extra energy to go hunting at the moment, so they could only remove the rotten parts and leave the good parts to roast and eat. I still have some food here. Su Qianqian walked over and stopped Shifang, who was about to roast the spoiled meat, saying, "This time, let me cook for everyone." Shifang was stunned for a moment, then looked at Shijue, who had not said a word not far away, and nodded awkwardly. Okay. They fight in the forest of beasts all day long and eat all kinds of meat, good and bad. But Shijue is the lord of West City after all, and he should not be used to the food in their hands. So, Su Qianqian rolled up her sleeves and took out the casserole she used to cook, poured in some water, and then took out some fresh meat, cut it into small pieces, and put it into the casserole with spices such as ginger, onion, dried chili peppers, star anise, cinnamon, etc. to stew. Shifang and Shiyuan were stunned. They had never seen food cooked like this before, especially the seasoning that Su Qianqian took out, which smelled delicious, but they had never seen it before. However, Nanwu, who was standing next to her, came over with a look of interest on his face and humbly asked Su Qianqian where she got these fragrant seasonings, while helping to add firewood to the fire. "This is called star anise, this is ginger, and this one that smells spicy is chili." Su Qianqian also happily introduced them to Nanwu. "These seasonings are delicious when added to food. I have seeds in my space. I will give you some later. You can try to grow them on this land." Okay. Nanwu nodded repeatedly after hearing this, his eyes shining with eagerness to try. "Hey, Nanwu, why are you always interested in these weird things?" Shiyuan next to him couldn't help but complain. "Remember the bitter grass you used to raise in the tribe? You couldn't keep it alive no matter what you did. In the end, it died. You even cried for 3 days and 3 nights while holding the bitter grass." Nanwu's old face suddenly turned red, and he waved his fist at Shiyuan angrily. "None of your business. Anyway, I will do my best to raise the seeds that Su Mu gave me." Su Qianqian listened and couldn't help but smile knowingly. It could be seen that Nanwu was very interested in planting. She could cultivate him well in the future. Waiting for the casserole to stew the meat, Su Qianqian took out another pot and poured the previously cooked spiritual rice into it, preparing to heat it up before eating. This spiritual rice needs 2 or 3 days to be cooked, so she cooked a lot of it in her free time and stored it in the system's built-in storage grid with a fresh-keeping function. She would take it out and heat it up when she wanted to eat it. Seeing this, Nanwu, who was standing nearby, diligently picked up some firewood and built a stove to heat the pot of rice. The stewed meat in the casserole gradually became soft, and a rich aroma wafted out. Shiyuan, who was originally not optimistic, drooled instantly and could not wait to squat beside the casserole, and Nanwu refused to leave no matter how hard he kicked him. Su Qianqian opened the lid of the pot and stirred it with a spoon for a few times. Under Shiyuan's eager gaze, she closed the lid again. Fearing that he would pounce on her like a hungry wolf, she reminded him, "Don't be impatient. We need to stew it for a while longer before we can eat it." Shiyuan resisted the urge to do so and nodded repeatedly. Okay. I'll wait patiently." Nanwu, who was standing next to him, couldn't stand it anymore and kicked him in the back again, telling him to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Shiyuan curled his lips and took a small step away reluctantly. At this moment, Lang Yan, who had gone to the river to fetch water, also came back with a few big fish in his hands. When Shiyuan saw this, he quickly covered his nose and stepped back, saying, "Lang Yan, what are you doing catching these small fish? They are fishy and bitter and cannot be eaten." Su Qianqian subconsciously turned her head to look and saw Lang Yan throwing 6 lively big fish to the ground, knocking them out one by one. The fish was as thick as Lang Yan's arm, with a broad head, a strong tail, and a large, plump body. You call this a small fish fry? Su Qianqian picked up one and weighed it. This fish weighed at least 16 or 17 pounds. This is nothing. I've seen fish hundreds of times bigger than this in the eastern seas. Shi Yuan waved his hand and said, their bones were washed up on the coast and picked up by the orcs on the coast to build caves. Su Qianqian. Well, this is the world of orcs, and everything cannot be judged from the perspective of the modern world. However, the fish meat looks quite plump. Su Qianqian rolled up her sleeves again and started working. Nan Wulanjian, help me take out all the internal organs from the stomachs of these fish. Be careful not to damage them. There is bitter gall inside. If you damage it, the fish meat will become bitter. Okay. Lang Yan and Nan Wu nodded and started to work. Su Qianqian took out a large basin from the storage ring, put the cleaned fish in it, and then added salt, lemon juice, ginger, garlic, and other seasonings to marinate it. The familiar operation. Lang Yan knew that Su Qianqian was going to grill the fish, so he got up and broke some branches, washed them, and helped put the marinated fish on. Shi Fang went forward to help since grilling was what he was best at. Were 6 big fish, almost one in each hand. They all sat around the fire, holding branches with big fish on them and roasting them over the fire. Su Qianqian also distributed some pepper and barbecue noodles to a few people and taught them to sprinkle some on them from time to time so that the grilled fish would taste more delicious. People were grilling fish happily here, while in the woods on the other side, Huyang and Inshua were still chopping wood with great effort. Until a rich and tempting fragrance came, the two of them stopped what they were doing at the same time. At the same time, Su Qianqian called out to the two of them, Huyang, Inshua, come back for dinner. Hearing the call, the two glared at each other and didn't have time to say anything. They ran back like the wind, rushing to be the first, afraid that they would be slower than the other. Qianqian, what delicious food have you prepared for me? Huyang pounced and pressed towards Su Qianqian as usual, but Inshua pushed him away and took the bowl from Su Qianqian, saying flatteringly, Qianqian, do you need my help? Shu Qianqian. No need, both of you just sit still. The tiger and the eagle immediately sat down where they were and were extremely obedient. Su Qianqian gave each orc present a large bowl filled with steaming hot spiritual rice. A spoonful of delicious stew soup was poured over it, and paired with the roasted golden and crispy fish, it was simply a delicacy on earth. Shi Yuan didn't even bother to take the chopsticks that Su Qianqian handed to him. He buried his head in the big bowl and started eating. The rest of them were still able to hold back, holding their chopsticks awkwardly, imitating Su Qianqian's example by picking up a piece of tender stewed meat with their chopsticks and putting it into their mouths. After just one bite, they immediately threw away their awkward chopsticks, directly holding the large bowls, and started eating frantically without any image. Looked at this scene, forget it, there is still a long way to go, let them learn to use chopsticks slowly later. Shi Fang ate a few bites, and his craving was somewhat appeased. He couldn't help but stroke the large bowl in his hand. It felt smooth and delicate, and he couldn't let it go. Sumo, what kind of bowl is this? It doesn't look like it's made of stone. It's light and convenient to hold. This is a porcelain bowl made of clay. Su Qianqian answered calmly, when I have time in the future, I can teach you how to make this kind of porcelain bowl. It just so happens that there is clay by the river nearby. Yeah. Shi Fang, who was always calm, couldn't help but nodded excitedly. Sumo, did you also grow this rice called something or other kind of rice yourself? As soon as Shi Fang asked, Namu also started asking. For carnivorous animals like them, they hardly eat vegetarian food. After all, vegetarian food is not filling enough and does not provide them with much calories to consume. They will feel hungry after eating for a while. But the rice cooked with this lingmi rice is not only soft and delicious, but also very filling. It makes you feel warm all over. Paired with the delicious stewed meat soup, it is absolutely delicious. This was given to me by a friend. Su Qianqian shook her head and said, I do have some rice seeds in my space. They can be planted, but this crop can only grow on land with water. Where there is water, Nan Wu frowned and thought for a moment. His eyes wandered around the land and looked towards the river in the distance and said, Then can we dig a ditch by the river and bring water over for planting? Su Qianqian gave him a thumbs up. Good idea. I'll leave this matter to you from now on. No problem. Nan Wu immediately patted his chest. My beast form is a mole, so digging ditches is just right for me. Halfway through his words, Nan Wu suddenly realized what he had said and quickly shut up, lowering his head with a red face. Su Qianqian burst out laughing. Ha, your original animal form is a mole. So cute. Hearing Su Qianqian's laughter, Nan Wudo buried his head even deeper, his ears turned red as if blood could drip from them. Su Qianqian laughed twice and continued. Mole is good. It is a digging expert in the animal world and has a strong ability to dig holes. When the time comes, you can help me dig an extra cellar to store extra plants. Nan Wu did not hear any teasing in Su Qianqian's laughter. Instead, he felt a sense of being valued. He suppressed the warmth in his heart, nodded quickly, and said softly, Okay. Hey, Inshoa, why are you glaring at Nan Wu? Sure, Yuan yelled a few times on purpose, as if he didn't mind adding to the trouble. Hey, don't be angry. You're about to break the chopsticks. Hu Yang, who was standing next to him, hurried over with a bowl in his arms and said pitifully, Qian, I can dig holes too. My tiger claws are very powerful. Su Qianqian. No, this can be compared? But, Sumo, why do you have so many strange things? Sure, Yuan completely ignored the glares from the people around him, and while eating the delicious stewed meat rice, he continued to speak fearlessly. And, why did your mother give you a nickname like Qianqian? It sounds so weird. You don't look like someone from our place at all. Well, anyway, the food you cook is so delicious. I want to follow you forever. Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this. What? Nickname? Sure, Yuan pointed at Lang Yan beside him and said, He said your nickname is Qianqian. I was wondering why Huyang always called you Qianqian. This name sounds too weird. Suma sounds better. Shu Qianqian. There's nothing I can do. They are the ones who gave birth to me. I can't decide on things like names. If you're not used to it, just continue to call me Su Mu. After saying that, she gave Lang Yan a grateful look. Lang Yan received her gaze, his handsome eyebrows slightly curved into a gentle smile. The corners of his lips moved slightly, and he said silently, You're welcome. Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh in her heart. As expected, compared to Inshoa and Hu Yang, Lang Yan was really calm and steady, and he always helped her out. Tacit glances between the two did not escape the attention of Hu Yang and Inshoa, who were standing beside them. The two men turned their heads at the same time and glared at Lang Yan fiercely, as if they wanted to stab him with a knife the next second. Facing the fierce looks from the two men, Lang Yan simply smiled faintly and shrugged without comment. He hid his impatience and jealousy very well, especially when facing Su Qianqian. He would not show it at all. He always appeared to be considerate and gentle. After spending some time together in the Grey Wolf tribe, he understood some of Su Qianqian's personality traits very well and knew what she liked. The more mature and stable he appeared, the more he would gain her heart and favor. Even though he is not good at speaking, not as good as Huyang in sweet talk, nor as crazy and obsessed as Inshoa is with her, but sometimes, retreating in order to advance is also a means of advancement. After eating and drinking, Su Qianqian handed the antidote that Inshoa had stolen to Shiju. Master Shiju, please help me check whether this antidote is real or fake. Shiju put down his bowl and chopsticks, took it and smelled it, then nodded and said, It's true. After saying that, he glanced at Inshoa beside him and said, Where did you get this? I remember this thing was hidden in the East City Great Wizard's place. Inshoa snorted softly. I exchanged Rongu's life for his. How did you change it? Su Qianqian couldn't help but come over and ask, Are you looking for trouble with Rongu again? Seeing Su Qianqian approaching to ask him a question, Inshoa glanced at Hu Yang in a smug manner and replied, I fed Rongu some of the leftover broth from the slaves. If he doesn't want to die, he has to ask the East City, which to give him the antidote. I see.
Su Qianqian nodded thoughtfully.
If she had known this earlier, she would have used this method and wouldn't have had to cause so much trouble. Shi Yuan, who was standing next to him, also came over to take a look and looked Yin Shuo up and down with a suspicious look. When did you become enemies with Ronggu? Wait, your voice sounds familiar. You are not the slave who stayed with Sumu before, are you? He was shocked and incredulous, muttering, "Oh my God, I didn't expect that the future mayor of West City would be Sumu's slave." On the contrary, Shifang and Nanwen next to him acted very calmly, as if they had already guessed it, and gave Shi Yuan a speechless look that said, "You just found out." But when Shijue heard the word slave, at this moment, he lowered his head in silence. Seeing this, Su Qianqian hurriedly said, "Lord Shijue, don't misunderstand. Inshua is not my slave. When I first came to Wanshou City, I was afraid that you would find out that he was not dead, so I let Inshua pretend to be my slave. Yes, yes." Shi Yuan also rarely chimed in, Su Mu in his eyes, there is no such thing as slaves or not. He treats all the slaves in Wanshou City very well, just like his friends and relatives. He treats Inshua even better and never treats him like a slave and orders him around. He finished speaking, he caught a glimpse of Inshua's gaze and immediately returned to his shameless look. "What are you looking at?" "I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for Su Mu." "I know." Shijue still lowered his head and said in a low voice, "I don't mean to blame Sumu. I just feel that many of my previous actions were wrong. As the high and mighty lord of West City, he used to look down on slaves and did not take ordinary orcs like Shifang seriously. But after this short period of getting along with them, the feeling these people gave him was very good. There were no conspiracies or deceptions. They were all very honest and sincere orcs. Being with these people was a moment of relaxation that he had never had in these decades. Then you, Inshua also spoke. "Will you force me to go back and inherit the position of city lord?" Shiju shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Inshua, I am now a traitor to the city of beasts just like you. What right do I have to force you to do something you don't want to do?" After saying that, he lowered his head again, his eyes falling on the wild fruits that Su Qianqian took out to satisfy everyone's thirst for food. This wild fruit is purple, round and large, with a bright color. It is obviously just an ordinary wild fruit, but looking at it makes people feel inexplicably happy. He simply picked up one, put it in his mouth, and took a big bite. The rich juice instantly filled his mouth. It was so delicious that he couldn't help but squint his eyes. "Forget it, never mind. Anyway, I'm the city lord now. Whoever wants to be the lord can be the lord. It's good here, and I don't have to worry about those messy things." Shijue said hastily, enjoying the wild grapes that Su Qianqian brought out, his tone full of relief of having let go of everything. "That's right." Shi Yuan also stuffed a grape into his mouth and said, "What's so good about being the city lord? It's better to follow Su Mu and build a new tribe here. It's so good. There are endless delicious foods to eat." Shijue paused while eating and asked, "You want to establish a new tribe?"
Su Qianqian nodded. "I guess so."
"Those slaves are homeless and have no status in Wanshou City. It is difficult for them to survive, so everyone is willing to follow me here to establish a new tribe. Then add me in." Shijue stuffed another big, round grape into his mouth. "You just taught Nanwa how to grow these wild fruits and vegetables. You should teach me as well. Although I am hundreds of years older than you, I still have enough strength to work in the fields. Okay?"
Su Qianqian nodded happily.
Shijue is an orc with 5th level strength, which is considered a powerful existence in this beast world continent. With him here, at least everyone doesn't have to worry about their safety. But how are you going to rescue those slaves? Shiju couldn't help but frown again. Those great witches are not easy to deal with. Although you have temporarily buried them in the ruins, there are so many orcs in Wanshou City, it won't be difficult to dig them out again. I have my own way. Su Qianqian curled her lips, and her eyes slowly swept across the plain trading system panel that lit up in front of her. At this moment, the friend from the interstellar plane just replied to her message. "What? What do you want to buy? Nuclear bomb? Hydrogen bomb? Tear gas? Laser cannon? Are you going to blow up the plane you are in?"
Su Qianqian.
"It's not as serious as you say. What do you want to do? These things are very powerful. Just taking out one of them can destroy a planet. Don't get yourself killed.
Shukian.
Is it so awesome? Well, I've been in some trouble recently. I can't defeat a few powerful enemies. Do you have any powerful and safe weapons to recommend? Of course, the other party answered very straightforwardly. Why don't you just buy a mecha from me? The mecha has all the functions you want, with an absolutely safe cockpit inside, and an energy shield outside, comparable to the diamond shield in the world of cultivation. Even if you blow up the entire plane with an atomic bomb, it won't hurt you at all. Su Qianqian. And my mecha has built-in long-range attacks such as laser cannons, as well as close combat. It is equipped with electric claws, so it can crush objects weighing thousands of pounds with its bare hands. Throwing grenades or firing sniper rifles is no problem either. What do you think? Do you want to buy it? I can sell it to you at a 40% discount. 60% off. I have to say, Su Qianqian was very excited at this moment. But I can't drive a mecha. I can teach you how to drive face-to-face. Su Qianqian, don't worry, this thing is easy to learn. At worst, there is a voice control system. Although it is not as convenient as driving by yourself, voice can also perform simple controls. Su Qianqian, no, I want to ask, what do you mean by what you just said? Can you teach me how to drive a mecha? Don't you know? Friends in different planes can actually meet each other. The other party seemed to be stunned for a moment, and then said, I say, you little girl from the beast world, you know about things like auction houses. How come you don't even know that friends in different planes can meet each other? After seeing this message, Su Qianqian started to get a little nervous and asked quickly, do you mean that there are certain conditions for meeting friends in different planes, or is it just anything? Of course, it's not something that can be done casually. It requires the agreement of both friends in the plane and a certain amount of star coins to allow the plane system to open up a space independent of all planes. The two friends can then do whatever they want in this space. This sounds weird. However, Su Qianqian was relieved after seeing the other party's explanation. It was not good enough to just meet casually. She was too afraid that the one from the cultivation plane would come looking for her. Sumo, the dishes have been washed. Is there anything else we can do? Just as she was thinking, Shi Yuan came over and waved his hand in front of her. Why are you standing there in a daze? Have you figured out any way to deal with those great witches?
Su Liangyan rubet her forehat.
Still thinking. Considering whether to buy a mecha. Although she has enough star coins now, the sacrificial ceremony will be held tomorrow. Can she learn to drive a mecha before the ceremony? Okay then. We won't bother you anymore. Just think of a solution and tell us what you want us to do. Don't be polite, and don't always bear it all by yourself. Okay.
Shukian nadie.
After hearing her say this, Shi Yuan and his companions finally felt relieved and went to work nearby. Perhaps because he saw that she seemed very distressed about rescuing slaves. Even Hu Yang, who always liked to be close to her, did not come over to disturb her. He pulled Lang Yen and Yin Shua to go to the woods to cut trees. So, Su Qianqian found a quiet place, sat down, and prepared to have a good chat with his friend from the interstellar dimension about learning about mechas. Don't worry. This space is independent of any other plane. In other words, as long as you are in this space, the time outside is still. You can stay in this space for as long as you want and do whatever you want. Su Qianqian. That is to say, even if I learn mecha from you for a year or two in this space, time outside will not flow at all. You can understand it that way. The other party replied quickly, so, do you want to buy it? I'm very free recently and have nothing to do. Su Qianqian couldn't help but be stunned. So free? Did you find those 2 red Ganoderma lucidum? Of course. I threw that thief to Xeris.
Shukian, Ferush?
What is that place? That's the planet where the Zerg live. There are primitive brainworms that dominate all Zerg. If that guy goes to that place, he will either become a donor for the Zerg to parasitize or become food for the Zerg to devour. In short, his fate will be miserable. Su Qianqian. Hey, don't change the subject. Do you want me to teach you how to drive a mecha? I always feel like you're trying to trick me into meeting you. Su Qianqian replied to the message slowly.
Am I?
Am I being too obvious? Su Qianqian. Very obvious. This guy is so overly enthusiastic about himself that it's hard not to doubt his intentions. Although she really wanted to learn mecha, to be honest, for her to face a strange friend from the interstellar plane. There's still something indescribably strange. Just like if one day you are asked to meet privately with a friend you have been chatting with very well online, it is impossible for you to not be nervous or afraid. If you don't handle it well, you will get hurt. Forget it about the mecha for now. Buy it later. This thing is too destructive. If you are not careful, the entire Wanshou city will be razed to the ground. Her enemies were only the 3 city lords and the 4 great witches. The rest of the residents of Wanshou city were innocent. If she used such a powerful weapon, innocent people would definitely be injured by mistake. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian's gaze unconsciously fell on the chat bar of the friend in the cultivation plane. In fact, compared to mechas or something, she wanted to buy something else. But if I buy something from this big guy in the cultivation plane, will something dangerous happen again? Are you in trouble? All of a sudden, this message popped up from the friends list in the cultivation plane. Su Qianqian was startled and almost subconsciously turned off the plane system. What the hell? How did he know? He has really been spying on me? Thinking of this possibility, Su Qianqian broke out in a cold sweat on her back. But the little witch said that the plane system has a protection mechanism for each plane merchant, and plane merchants are not allowed to harm each other. Why does this guy from the cultivation plane always haunt her? Su Qianqian pulled her hair frantically, and it took her a long time to calm down. She reopened the chat interface of her friend in the plane, took a few deep breaths, and finally mustered up the courage to reply. How do you know I'm in trouble? I have said before that there is a certain bond between you and me. As long as you think of me, I can sense it, Su Qianqian. What does this mean? As soon as she thought about him, he could sense it. Is it possible for such strange techniques to be practiced in the world of cultivation? That shouldn't be possible. Su Qianqian scratched her head and read the sentence again in confusion, but still didn't understand. To be honest, she didn't really believe in such a thing as bonds. How could there be any bond between 2 merchants from different planes who had no relationship at all? She would rather believe that the other party had cast a spell on her, so he could sense her presence. Forget it, never mind. She has been targeted anyway, so what? She doesn't believe that this guy can really fly to the beast world to cause trouble for her. Yes, I did run into some minor troubles and encountered a few difficult enemies. So, you want to kill them? Seeing this, Su Qianqian fell silent. Kill the Great Witch and his men? If the Great Witch and the Lord of Wanshou City were killed, the entire Wanshou City would be in chaos. After all, the existence of the Great Witch is also a deterrent to those wandering orcs who want to invade Wanshou City. If they are killed, the entire Wanshou City will fall into a state of no one to rule and govern. Without the protection of the 7th-level Great Witch, the orcs of Wanshou City will become captives of other tribes and become new slaves. No, I can't kill them yet. Su Qianqian replied, I want to temporarily immobilize them so they can't stop what I want to do. The other party was silent for a long time before replying. Then, why don't you just buy a few immobilization talismans and stick them on them? To be some helplessness in his tone. Su Qianqian was stunned when she saw this. That's right. Why didn't she think of it? The immobilization talisman is attached to them. No matter how powerful those great witches are, they will not be able to move at all. Isn't it easy for her to save the slaves? Oh my God, you are a genius. Opposite. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Su Qianqian quickly asked, do you have any useful immobilization talismans to recommend? At your current level, you can only use the intermediate level immobilization talisman, which can immobilize a person for 4 hours. Intermediate level immobilization talisman? 4 hours, that's 8 hours. That's enough. This time is enough for her to finish everything she wants to do. Then please give me 4. No. 8 intermediate level immobilization talismans. Hee, buy more at one time just in case. Su Qianqian rubbed her hands. Just after she sent the message, the other side threw 8 immobilization talismans at her, with a total price of 960,000 star coins. Su Qianqian was stunned when she saw the price. Is this talisman so expensive? On average, it is 120,000 star coins per piece. The invisibility talisman only costs 60,000 star coins each, and this immobilization talisman is twice as expensive as it. Speaking of the invisibility talisman, Su Qianqian quickly sent another message. Boss, give me 4 invisibility talismans as well. The invisibility cloak cannot be used for the time being, so she prepared a few invisibility talismans with her so that she would not be at a loss if anything happened. In the end, 8 immobilization talismans and 4 invisibility talismans cost her a total of 1.2 million star coins. If it were in the past, Su Qianqian would definitely feel the pain for a while, but now, she is a rich person, and she doesn't feel bad at all about spending this little money. After buying the talisman, Su Qianqian opened the chat bar of her interstellar friend again, and the person on the other side was still online. She tried to send a message. Hello? You finally came back to me, Su Qianqian. I'm sorry, I just thought about it and decided not to buy the mecha for the time being. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. It's okay. The other party replied quickly, as if he had been waiting for her news. I had expected this result a long time ago. You, a little girl from the beast world, are really very cautious. If I wasn't on guard, I would have been gnawed to pieces without leaving any bones. Su Qianqian smiled bitterly upon hearing this. She had not forgotten that it was because she had not been on guard against those black-hearted parents that she was tricked by them and pushed off the cliff. She definitely doesn't want to experience being foolishly plotted against like this a second time. Then calmed down and typed a reply message again. Although I am not considering buying the mecha for the time being, I have another thing I want to buy from you. What is it? Early morning. The thin white sunlight shines through the treetops and falls on the sleeping face of the girl. Su Qianqian opened her eyes and stretched comfortably. She looked around and realized that she had a good sleep last night, and no one came to disturb her. Su Qianqian couldn't help but feel a little strange in her heart, but it disappeared in an instant, and she looked up not far away. At this moment, Shi Fang and his companions were packing up their things at the place where they had camped and rested last night, talking and laughing. Su Qianqian jumped down from the tree and walked towards the few people. As soon as Shi Yuan saw her, he waved at her hurriedly. Sumo, hurry up, you are the only one missing. Lord Shijue is going to personally take us to the City of Beasts. Nan Wu, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but roll his eyes at him. Today is the day of the Wanshou City sacrifice meeting. Can you not be so happy? However, Shi Yuan seemed not to notice Nan Wu's rolling eyes and was still very excited. Lord Shijue transformed into a beast and personally took them to the city of 10,000 beasts. He had never been to heaven before, so how could he not be excited? Su Qianqian looked around at the energetic people in front of her and nodded. Are you all ready? Going to Wanshou City to rescue the slaves today will definitely encounter many difficulties and dangers. I don't object if you want to stay. Hey, Sumo, stop talking nonsense. Are we the cowardly orcs? You are not afraid of those witches, so why should we be afraid? Shi Yuan waved his hand and said, besides, with your own strength, even if you can deal with those witches, you can't bring back so many slaves by yourself. Let us go with you. That's right. Shi Fang and Nanwu also nodded in agreement. Sumo, we can't let you face all the difficulties alone. Although we are not as capable as Inshua and Huyang, there will always be a place where we can be of use. Okay then. Su Qianqian nodded. If you encounter danger, you must put your own safety first and don't just stand there. Sumo, don't worry. Shi Yuan patted his chest proudly. If we encounter danger, we will run faster than rabbits. We will not become a burden to you, and we will not let those city lords catch us. After the agreement was reached here, Shijue next to him turned around and transformed into a silver eagle. He lowered his 2 huge wings and built a staircase for everyone to climb up conveniently. Su Qianqian was about to raise her foot when Inshua beside her suddenly spoke up. Wait, there's one person missing.
Ah?
Who is it? Shi Yuan was about to climb onto Shijue's wings, but when he heard this, he immediately turned his head, looked around, and then exclaimed, Where's that kid Huyang? Huyang? Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian immediately turned her head, and looked around. Hu Yang is missing. No, this kid is deserting the battlefield? Shi Yuan slid down from Shi Jue's wings and looked around. I don't think so. Hu Yang is not that kind of orc. Nan Wu frowned and interrupted Shi Yuan. I don't think I have seen him since this morning. Maybe something happened to him. Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but frown. Hu Yang hadn't come to see her since last night. She thought he had finally understood things, but when she woke up this morning, she felt something was a little strange. If it were any other day, Hu Yang would have been unable to bear the loneliness and would have come to her and would not stop until he had been with her for a while. But this morning was surprisingly quiet. Could something really have happened? Thinking of this, Su Qianqian quickly opened the system's pet space and asked, System, what is Hu Yang's current condition? Ding. After testing, Pet Hu Yang is in good condition, but his heart rate has increased and his supernatural powers are being consumed at a large scale. A significant consumption of superpowers? Su Qianqian was stunned. Hu Yang was really in danger. Where's the last time you saw him? I remember he seemed to go to that place last night. Shifang pointed to the forest, not far away. It's the forest you asked them to cut down trees. Insha, you go to Wanshou City first, I'll go find Hu Yang. Su Qianqian said, then turned and ran towards the jungle not far away. But as soon as she left, Insha and Lang Yan ran after her. I'll go with you. Just as Su Qianqian was about to speak, the ground beneath her feet suddenly shook violently. At the same time, an angry voice suddenly came from not far away. Hu Yang, do you want to die? How dare you attack your tribesman? He's there. Hearing the voice, Lang Yan was the first to react and rushed forward. Su Qianqian and Insha hurriedly caught up. At this time in the forest, Hu Yang was facing several tall and strong white tiger orcs, and next to him stood a white-bearded orc holding a snake bone scepter. Snake bone scepter in his hand seemed to have a strong suppressive effect on Hu Yang, who was of the same clan. Hu Yang had a splitting headache, his eyes were red, the defensive earth wall under his feet was smashed to pieces, and the energy in his body was consumed at an alarming rate. But he still bit his lips tightly, staring at the people in front of him with unwilling eyes. I said, I won't go back with you. Shut up, the white-bearded orc shouted. Hu Yang, how long are you going to keep making trouble? Do you know that the chief is critically ill and the entire tribe is waiting for you to return and inherit the position of chief and take charge of the overall situation? How can you be so irresponsible? Hu Yang's hand covering his forehead was becoming more and more strained. He closed his eyes tightly and suddenly knelt down to the white-bearded orc. I'm sorry, priest, I beg you, please let me stay here for a few days. When I finish my work here, I will definitely go back with you. Hu Yang, do you really think I know nothing? The white-bearded orc said, and suddenly turned his head and looked at Su Qianqian fiercely. Humph, you insist on staying here. Isn't it just for that orc named Su Mu? I'll kill him now. I'd like to see if you have any reason to stay here. After saying that, the white-bearded orc rushed towards Su Qianqian with a snake-bone scepter in his hand. Su Qianqian reacted very quickly and retreated. At the same time, Insha and Lang Yan both took action to block the attack of the white-bearded orc. Fifth level orc shocked the white-bearded orc. He looked at Su Qianqian in disbelief. I didn't expect that you have such a strong helper by your side. In that case, he held the scepter in his hand and swallowed hard. You have such a powerful helper by your side, so you should release Hu Yang and let him go home. Insha glanced at the snake-bone scepter in his hand, which was emitting a faint glow, and mercilessly waved his hand to push the man back dozens of meters away, saying coldly, You are really unreasonable, old man. What does it have to do with us whether he returns home or not? You come to trouble us without knowing the truth. I think you are looking for death. After saying that, he flapped the huge wings behind him and actually imitated the great wizard of West City to shoot out countless silver-gray feather arrows, stabbing at the white-bearded orc. Seeing this, Su Qianqian used both hands to quickly condense ice crystals to block the white-bearded orc. Fortunately, Inshua's training was not yet good enough, and the feather arrows he shot were far less powerful than those shot by the great wizard of West City. The ice crystals condensed by Su Qianqian completely blocked his attack. But the white-bearded orc couldn't help being frightened, and his legs went limp. He stumbled back a few steps, and the snake bone scepter in his hand fell to the ground. Without the suppression of the scepter, Hu Yang immediately stood up from the ground and ran behind Su Qianqian desperately. Yin Shua next to him immediately gave him a look that said, "You're so useless." This time, Hu Yang didn't argue with him, but lowered his head with a dejected look on his face. The snake bone scepter is an inheritance of the white tiger tribe. It contains the essence and blood of every white tiger orc. It has a strong suppressive effect on him as a white tiger orc. That's why he was powerless to resist when facing the priests of the white tiger tribe. The white-bearded orc opposite was helped to stand up by several white tiger orcs. He looked at the half-meter-thick ice crystals in front of him and shuddered deeply, not knowing what he thought of. He looked at Su Qianqian again with a bit of fear in his eyes. But when he saw Hu Yang hiding behind Su Qianqian, he was furious and shouted, "Hu Yang, are you still stubborn? Come here quickly." "I don't want it." Hu Yang hid behind Su Qianqian, only sticking out half of his head.
You.
The white-bearded orc stomped his feet in anger when he saw this, and picked up the snake bone scepter on the ground again and pointed it at Hu Yang. "Do you think I can't do anything to you just like this?" Although he said that, looking at Su Qianqian and the others opposite him, he was still afraid to go over. Snake bone scepter is only useful against white tiger orcs, but cannot be used against orcs from other races. Seeing this, Su Qianqian could only step out to smooth things over. Okay, let's talk it out nicely. Don't always think about fighting." She took the initiative to step forward, smiled gently at the white tiger orcs opposite, and said politely, "You're the priest of the white tiger tribe, right? I am Hu Yang's friend. My name is Su Mu. I know who you are." Facing Su Qianqian's initiative to show goodwill, the white-bearded orc's expression did not relax at all. Instead, he took 2 steps back with some vigilance. "Su Mu, you have multiple supernatural powers. You can make the 4 city lords and several big witch groups of Wanshou City run around with your own strength. Your reputation has long been spread all over Wanshou City."
"Ah?
She that famous now?" Su Qianqian scratched her head embarrassedly and said, "Well, let's not talk about this for now. I know you want Hu Yang to return to the tribe to inherit the position of tribe leader, but now I need his help. Can you give me a few days to finish my work?" "No." Before Su Qianqian could finish her words, the white-bearded orc interrupted her harshly. "Hu Yang is the most talented orc in our white tiger clan. Don't even think about asking him to do something dangerous like that with you." Su Qianqian, "No, it's not as serious as you think. How can it not be serious? The several city lords of Wanshou City and the 4 great witches are almost all powerful. Just because one person can deal with them doesn't mean Hu Yang can. If something happens to Hu Yang, what will you do with our white tiger clan?" Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian had no room to refute what she said. She could only turn around and look at Hu Yang beside her. "Hu Yang, why don't you?"
No.
Hu Yang immediately hugged her arms. "Qian, you promised me that you would never abandon me again. I want to go with you." Su Qianqian held her forehead with her hand, as if suffering from a headache. Although she was fully confident that she could deal with those great witches this time, if Hu Yang's people wanted to stop her, she couldn't just take Hu Yang with her. At this time, several people from Shifeng also hurried over. "Sumo, have you found Hu Yang?" Shijue? Seeing Shijue following Shifeng and the others, the originally extremely serious white-bearded priest was stunned. "Why are you here?" "Eruo?" Shijue was also startled when he saw the white-bearded priest. Then he happily walked forward, his tone full of familiarity. "Why are you here too?" Do these 2 know each other?" Su Qianqian and the others were stunned. The tense atmosphere disappeared instantly. Shiju walked up to the priest and put his arm around his shoulders, as if he had seen a friend he hadn't seen for years. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming to the City of Beasts? How many years have we not seen each other?" "Oh, it's hard to put it into words." The white-bearded priest shook his head and sighed. "So many years have passed. I thought you were still the lord of the West City and Wanshou City. I didn't expect you. At this point, he glanced at Su Qianqian and the others beside him, and his voice was inexplicably filled with gnashing of teeth. Look at you. You are the city lord. Why are you following these youngsters to make trouble? Haha, this is not nonsense. Shijua laughed twice. Sumo did a good thing. He rescued not only the slaves, but also the orcs of the entire Wanshou city. Over the years, Wanshou city has been governed by the 4 city lords. I believe you have heard about it. If it continues like this, I don't know what the whole Wanshou city will become. I am willing to help him with this matter now. At this point, Shijue suddenly patted his shoulder solemnly. Eruo, I hope you'll do the same. Hearing this, the white-bearded priest sighed, his tone full of helplessness. I understand. However, these youngsters are no match for those great witches. You were lucky to escape last time. This time, the city lords and great witches of Wanshou City have set a trap for you. If you go, I'm afraid you will never come back. What trap did they set? In Shua couldn't help but ask. The white-bearded priest turned his head and looked at him. His eyes moved around him and Su Qianqian twice, and then he moved his gaze to Shiju. Is this the successor you chose?
His strength is not bad, but...
Why is he as ignorant as Huyang, hanging around this Sumu all day long? We don't need to worry about the affairs of these young people. Just let them be. Shiju laughed dryly and quickly changed the subject. But you just said that they set a trap. What do you mean? The white-bearded priest sighed helplessly and began to tell the story. Originally, I came to the City of Beasts because the chief of the White Tiger clan was seriously ill. I didn't expect to encounter something like this. The city lords and the great witches moved all the slaves to another location and tied them to the gallows. There was firewood placed under their feet. The 4 great witches were personally guarding them and summoned all the orcs in the City of Beasts to watch. When the time came, they would be burned at the stake. How could they be so cruel? Sure Yuan, who was listening nearby, couldn't help but clench his fists. If you want to save those slaves, you must pass through the hundreds of orc warriors who are defending them and then defeat those witches. The white-bearded priest said, and suddenly looked straight at Su Qianqian. These may not be a problem for you, but have you ever thought that the ultimate purpose of their sacrificial ceremony is to pray for rain? It's so hot now, who wouldn't want a heavy rain? For the orcs of Wanshou City, if the lives of a few slaves can be exchanged for a heavy rain, they will stand firmly on the side of Wanshou City. If you really want to save those slaves, you must risk offending the entire Wanshou City. I'm not afraid. Su Qianqian frowned, looked directly at the white-bearded priest's gaze, and said word by word. Those guys are holding this sacrificial ceremony not for the so-called prayer for rain. They have other conspiracies. The slaves are just the victims of their unscrupulous efforts to achieve their goals. Even if we believe what you said, what about the orcs in Wanshou City? Do they believe you unconditionally? They will believe it. Su Qianqian curled her lips, her tone firm. After all, she had a video that could expose the conspiracy of several city lords. But the white-bearded priest didn't know about this. He still held a pessimistic attitude and shook his head repeatedly, saying, It's impossible. You can't do it unless the beast god shows up and personally stops this. What if the beast god really appears? What did you say? The white-bearded priest was stunned when he heard this, and looked at Su Qianqian in surprise, but saw that the other party just lowered his eyes slightly, with a deep and unfathomable look in his eyes that made it difficult to understand. At this time, Lang Yan stepped forward and said, To be honest, my friend Su Mu is actually the messenger of the beast god. She can communicate with the beast god and knows many things that we ordinary people cannot know. You are the messenger of the beast god? The white-bearded priest looked at Su Qianqian in surprise. It's impossible. How could someone like you be? How is it impossible? Shi Yuan also stood up and said, Su Mu is so powerful. Have you ever seen someone like him who has multiple superpowers? You haven't seen it, right? He beat those great witches by himself, and they had no chance to fight back. Almost no one in the whole Wanshou City can be his opponent. Maybe he was sent by the beast god to save these slaves. Su Qianqian. It's not as great as you say. Well, just trust him this time. Also, Isn't the chief of your tribe seriously ill? Once Sumo has resolved this matter, I will go back to the White Tiger tribe with you and help you cure the chief. Sumo's healing ability is amazing, Shi Yuan said as he pulled Shifang over and lifted up his leather pants. If you don't believe me, look, Shifang was attacked by the poison of the piranha plant before. If Sumu hadn't used his healing ability, Shifang's entire leg would have been broken. You also have healing powers? The white-bearded priest was so shocked that he was completely speechless. The others nodded. Sumu healed all our injuries. I'll testify. Shiju also said, Sumu's healing ability is really amazing. After he fought with the Great Wizard and the others, he didn't need to rest at all. He just raised his hand and healed all the injuries of these guys. Su Qianqian, who was blushing from the praise, silently held her forehead with her hand. The afternoon sky was clear blue, the clouds were sparse, and the sunlight seemed even warmer. Su Qianqian sat on the back of the flying silver eagle and subconsciously stretched out her hand to block the sunlight above her head. Even though she was flying high in the sky and the breeze was blowing across her body, she was still sweating all over from the sun. This weather. It would be nice if it could rain. Qianqian, are you sunburned? Let me get a piece of animal skin to block the sun for you. Hu Yang suddenly came closer to her affectionately. No, that's not necessary. Su Qianqian quickly refused, but at a glance, she still saw the angry look from the white-bearded priest. Since the matter was made public, the orcs of the White Tiger tribe no longer stopped Hu Yang from going to the City of Beasts, but they also wanted to go to the City of Beasts together, under the pretext of helping her deal with the Great Witch, but in fact, Su Qianqian glanced at the white-bearded priest who was staring at her and held her forehead helplessly. As the future leader of the White Tiger tribe, Hu Yang hangs out with a male orc like me all the time, so it's normal for people to be wary of her. But there's no need to keep staring at her with such strange eyes. However, the big fool Hu Yang was still completely unaware of it, and he stuck to her all day long, saying, Qingqian, here and there, with an inappropriately intimate tone, completely ignoring the gloomy face of the white-bearded priest next to him. Of course, he wasn't the only one with a gloomy face. Under Hu Yang's numerous Qian attacks, the silver eagle under him was extremely impatient and was about to throw Hu Yang off with a flap of its wings. Shut up. You idiot, you're making so much noise. What do you care about me? Just fly yours. Hu Yang completely ignored Yin Shua's words and directly took out a piece of animal skin from his storage space and spread out a shade above Su Qianqian's head, saying, Qianqian, will it be cooler this way? Do you want me to get another piece to block the surroundings so that they can't see us? Hee hee. Believe it or not, I will throw you off right now. Lord Shijua, look, your Yin Shua wants to bully me again. Hu Yang immediately turned around and complained to Shijua, who was standing beside him. Ahem, Yin Shua, you two should get along well. The Silver Eagle clan and the White Tiger tribe have had a friendly relationship for generations. Who wants to get along with such a stupid guy? Yin Shua under him snorted coldly, but didn't say anything else in the end. Hu Yang immediately raised his chin triumphantly, and just as he was about to get closer to Su Qianqian, the white-bearded priest next to him called out in a calm voice, Hu Yang, come here. I don't want to. Hu Yang snorted softly, his butt as if it was made of iron, sticking tightly to Su Qianqian without moving. You brat. The white-bearded priest was so angry that he wanted to stand up and hit him again. Seeing this, Shijue quickly stopped him. Okay. Arrow, just let them go. After much persuasion, the white-bearded priest was finally subdued. At this moment, Su Qianqian was very glad that Yin Shua was the transportation tool to take everyone to Wanzhou City. If Shiju hadn't been there, she really couldn't imagine what kind of Shura scene would happen next. However, Su Qianqian still felt a little uncomfortable seeing Shijue calling her Arrow so affectionately. The White Tiger tribe's priest looked very old, with white hair and beard, but Shijue was still very young and looked like someone of Yin Shua's generation. The two of them sat together just like a father and grandfather. Lang Yan, who was standing beside her, seemed to have seen through her thoughts and slowly said, Lord Shijue looks young, but he looked like this when I was very young. He is probably older than the priest of the White Tiger tribe. Su Qianqian. All right. The world of cultivation is full of old monsters that have lived for hundreds or thousands of years. Although the beast world is not as advanced as the cultivation world, since everyone has supernatural powers, it should not be difficult to keep their appearance unchanged for many years. After thinking about it, she tilted her head to look at Lang Yan and asked in a low voice, "You came to Wanzhou City when you were a child. Have you met Lord Shijue?"
Yeah.
Lang Yan nodded gently. "I came here with the tribe leader when I was a child." "Well, what's the current situation of the Grey Wolf tribe?" Su Qianqian hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help but ask. She hadn't heard any news from the Grey Wolf tribe for a long time since she left the tribe, and she didn't know how they were doing after the raid by the wandering orcs.
They
"Are fine." Lang Yan took a deep breath, as if he didn't want to say more about the Grey Wolf tribe. He turned to look at Hu Yang and Shi Yuan beside him, and curled his lips slightly bitterly. "I used to be very worried about how you would be after leaving the Grey Wolf tribe, but now it seems that you are living a good life, and are happier after leaving the tribe. You have many friends with whom you can be honest, and they treat you very well." Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian pursed her lips and said nothing. After all, Lang Yan was telling the truth. Most of the time she spent in the Grey Wolf tribe, she was not very happy, and she was not as free and carefree as she is now. Leaving the Grey Wolf tribe may be the best decision she has ever made. "During the days you were away, Jillian missed you very much." Lang Yan lowered his eyes and said calmly, "Once the matter in Wanzhou City is settled, I will return to the tribe and report to Jillian that I am safe. She has always thought that you were captured by stray orcs and is worried about you every day." "Ah Jiao." Su Qianqian couldn't help but pause when she heard this. In fact, she missed Jillian very much. Jillian was one of the few orcs in the Grey Wolf tribe who treated her well. Oh, it would be nice if Jillian could come to her newly built tribe. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh. But then I thought, why not? Why couldn't he lure a gentle and kind girl like Jillian to his newly built tribe? The Grey Wolf tribe places great importance on having children. Jiao has been looked down upon for her inability to have children over the years, and has also been betrayed by her beastly husband. If she were in her own tribe, she would definitely not let Jiao suffer so much injustice. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian quickly grabbed Lang Yan and asked, "Hey, Lang Yan, when exactly are you going back to the Grey Wolf tribe? Can you tell me in advance when you leave so that I can bring some things for Jillian?" "You really want me to leave?" Lang Yan lowered his eyes and looked at Su Qianqian's hand that was holding his arm, a hint of obscurity flashing across his eyes. How? How could it be?" Su Qianqian hurriedly said, "Aren't you going back to tell Jiao that you are safe? The sooner you leave, the better. It's not like we won't see each other again. When my new tribe is established, you are welcome to visit me in the forest of 10,000 beasts anytime. What's more, she still needs Lang Yan's help to lure Jillian to her tribe."
Okay.
Lang Yan looked at Su Qianqian, who was calculating something with great enthusiasm. His eyes softened, and the smile on his face became more doting. "I will come to inform you in advance when I leave." "Yeah, it's a deal then."
Beasts.
Under the huge obelisk that was dozens of meters high, almost all the orcs gathered here, looking at the orc slaves tied to the gallows on the stage. For great wizards stood at 4 locations on the stone platform, their expressions stern and cold. They were surrounded by hundreds of orc warriors who were tightly surrounded. Each of them held a stone spear and stood straight, looking as if they were about to go to the battlefield. Although no one knew why this sacrificial ceremony was so grand, the orcs in the audience seemed to be infected by the solemn atmosphere. They straightened their chests and backs, revealing extremely serious expressions. At this moment, in a hidden corner under the stone platform, the Red Fox Saint looked at the 3 city lords in front of her, and her anger could not be hidden in her low voice. "What on earth are you going to do? Why are you burning these slaves for no reason? If they die, what will happen to the city lord's sacrifice? Don't mess around. We can always find new sacrifices, but today we must use these slaves to lure out the orc named Sumo." "What did you say?" The Red Fox Saint was furious when she heard this. Do you think it's easy to find a group of slaves with pure blood? These slaves rarely meet the standards for sacrifice. Anyway, I don't agree. You can't burn these slaves alive just to lure out that Su Mu. We're all going to die anyway, so what's the difference between being burned to death and bleeding to death? The Lord of South City looked at her impatiently, then waved to the 2 orc warriors beside him. Come here, the saint is tired. Take her down to rest.
Yes.
2 orc warriors responded and walked forward with stone spears in hand. You dare. Seeing the 2 orc warriors coming to hold her hostage, the Red Fox Saint suddenly panicked and shouted, I am the saint, the messenger of the beast god. How dare you treat me like this? Aren't you afraid of angering the beast god? I now order you, in the name of the saint, to quickly remove the gallows. Saint, I am willing to call you saint, which is already a courtesy to you. I advise you not to push your luck. The Lord of North City glanced at her coldly. After all, you know better than us whether you are the real beast god messenger or not. The Red Fox Saint was so angry that it seemed as if the most secretive thoughts in her heart were suddenly exposed. Her face turned red in an instant, and she pointed at the Lord of North City, unable to speak. While the situation here was in a stalemate, Su Qianqian had already quietly mixed in with the crowd watching the sacrificial ceremony with a few people from Shifeng. On a half-meter-high stone platform, many slaves, led by Mountain Cat, were tied tightly to the gallows with ropes. Firewood was piled under their feet. The orc warriors surrounding them were holding torches, waiting for the city lord's order. Su Qianqian mingled in the crowd and winked at Shi Yuan next to her. Shi Yuan understood what he meant and immediately pushed through the crowd in front of him, rushing straight to the stone platform. Facing the orcs in the crowd, he spoke in a loud voice. Everyone, all the orcs in Wanzhou City, today I want to reveal a huge secret to everyone. He pointed at the 3 city lords behind the stone platform, as well as the Red Fox Saint who was about to be taken away by 2 orc warriors, and said in a louder voice, You've all been deceived. This Red Fox Saint is not the so-called beast god messenger at all. She teamed up with the lord of the city of 10,000 beasts to deceive everyone. This sacrificial ceremony was not held to pray for rain, but to set up a bloody human sacrifice. As soon as these words came out, all the orcs present were shocked. What did you say? Seeing that everyone's attention was drawn to Shi Yuan, Su Qianqian immediately slapped an invisibility talisman on herself and quietly lurked from the side to the rear of the 4 great witches, where no one noticed. The 3 city lords saw this scene. Their faces suddenly darkened. Who is this guy? Why did he suddenly appear here and say these words? Hurry up and have him driven away. He is inciting the crowd here and will hinder our plan. The 2 orc warriors immediately rushed to Shi Yuan, pointed their sharp stone spears at his face, and shouted, Who are you? Why are you spreading rumors here to confuse the people? Get out of here. In public, the orc warriors did not dare to attack Shi Yuan directly. They could only drive him away first, and then wait for the city lord to deal with the situation quietly. Shi Yuan seemed to have known this for a long time. He was not afraid at all and said confidently, You don't even know who I am. I am a righteous orc sent by the beast god to expose your conspiracies. I tell you, the Lord Beast God just couldn't stand the dirty things you did, so he sent us righteous orcs to stop you. If you still have some conscience, put down your stone spears and kneel down to welcome the Lord Beast God's appearance. What are you talking about? How could there be a... The orc warrior opened his mouth and wanted to curse, but in a flash he realized that the current situation was a sacrificial ceremony held to pray for the divine beast to bring rain, and quickly changed his words. What nonsense are you talking about? How could the Lord Beast God appear in person? The Lord of North City looked at this scene, his face darkened, and he whispered to the Great Witch of North City, who was not far away. Great Witch, use your ability to transform and take away that guy who is misleading people with his lies.
Yes.
The Great Wizard of West City nodded slightly, and just as he was about to move, his steps suddenly froze. What's wrong? The Lord of North City cast a puzzled look at him. Why aren't you moving? Don't you even listen to me? I can't move. What did you say? The Lord of West City was horrified. Just as he was about to go over to check what was going on, he saw the other three great witches exclaiming in unison, "We can't move our bodies either. What on earth is going on?" The other two city lords also noticed something was wrong and rushed forward to check. They pushed the great wizard hard, but the wizard's hands and feet seemed to be fixed in place by something and could not be moved at all. Shi Yuan shouted even louder with his broken voice, "Look, this is the beast god appearing. The beast god is personally punishing these evil witches." Shi Fang and Nanwa looked at each other, then stepped forward, knelt down toward the sky, and shouted loudly, "The beast god has appeared. The beast god has appeared." The crowd who didn't know the truth couldn't help but feel sad when they saw this scene. At first, when only Shi Yuan was shouting, everyone didn't believe it. But one after another, more people came out to shout, and the four great witches suddenly couldn't move. Could it really be? The beast god appeared. When everyone realized this, they quickly followed Shi Fang and Nanwa's example and knelt down. Shi Yuan saw this and shouted even harder, "The beast must be angry because we wantonly killed the slaves. Let's release these slaves. We can't keep making mistakes like this, or the beast will show up and make us die miserably." His words of intimidation and terror made the crowd, who did not know the truth, even more frightened. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed, shouting for the beast god to calm down. Who the hell is this guy? Who sent him here to deceive the people? Several city lords gnashed their teeth in anger. The hot-tempered South City lord couldn't stand it anymore and stretched out his hand. "No, we can't let this go on. I have to go and deal with this guy first." However, the next second, a handful of thorn seeds fell from the sky like flowers scattered by a fairy. Before everyone could react, the seeds quickly grew into huge vines tens of meters thick, locking the three city lords tightly in place. "Look, this is what happens when you offend the beast god." Shi Yuan pointed at the three city lords and shouted, "We must release these slaves, otherwise we will be punished too." He finished speaking. Shi Fang and Nanwa jumped onto the stone platform impatiently and untied the slaves on it. Everyone stood up and stepped forward, and began to untie the slaves on the gallows in an orderly manner. At this moment, seeing these familiar thorny vines, several city lords also reacted. It turns out that the boy is playing tricks. Don't believe him. He is not the beast god's messenger at all. But no one listened to their words. All the orcs present, led by Shi Yuan and Shi Fang, untied the slaves on the stone platform. The three city lords were furious and wanted to take action against Shi Yuan and the other two, but they were bound by thorny vines and could not do anything. Su Qianqian sat on Inshua's back and watched the scene leisurely. She was extremely grateful that she had collected so many thorn seeds. Although this thing was not very lethal, it was very effective in besieging the enemy and had really helped her many times. However, at this moment, the Red Fox Saint appeared. "Stop. Everyone stop it." She let out a delicate cry, and all the orcs stopped to look at her. Obviously, the prestige of the Red Fox Saint is much greater than that of those city lords, and she is more likely to make people feel afraid. Do you know why the beast god is angry? It's because your sacrificial method is wrong, which makes the beast god unhappy. Now listen to my orders. Let these slaves bleed. Only blood can calm the anger of the beast god and make him show up to give us heavy rain. This Red Fox Saint really wanted to use these slaves as sacrifices for the city lord without leaving any room for them. It was really abominable. She simply stopped holding back and swung out several ice blades with one palm, shooting straight towards the Red Fox Saint. The Red Fox Saint screamed and retreated, and several orc warriors stepped forward to block the attack for her. Even so, she was still stabbed in the arm by the ice blade. Who is it? The Red Fox Saint covered her injured and bleeding arm, and her cold eyes swept over all the orcs present, who dared to sneak attack this saint. Su Qianqian jumped off Inshua's back and stood on the tall obelisk, looking down at her condescendingly. "It's me." The Red Fox Saint looked up and saw Su Qianqian's appearance. She was stunned for a moment, then she became even more angry and said, "How dare you? I am the Red Fox Saint, the messenger of the beast god. You dare to hurt me? Aren't you afraid of the punishment from the beast god? Su Qianqian smiled coldly. Since you want to offer blood to the beast god so much, then as a saint, shouldn't you take the lead and offer your blood to the beast god? After saying that, she waved her hand and several ice cones condensed and appeared again. The red fox saint saw the dense icicles and stepped back in fear. She quickly ordered the orc warriors beside her. Why don't you take that guy down quickly? If he dares to offend me, he is offending the might of the beast god. All the orc warriors took the order and stepped forward, protecting the red fox saint behind them, and threw stone spears at Su Qianqian, who was standing on the obelisk. Unfortunately, the stone spears in their hands were too heavy to be thrown that high. The red fox saint stomped her feet in anger and summoned all the orc warriors. They used their bodies as a support and stacked them up in an attempt to catch Su Qianqian on the obelisk. At this moment, all the orc warriors in the entire Wanshou city were attracted by Su Qianqian's firepower, so there were naturally no orc warriors guarding the stone platform. Shi Yuan and others quickly led the slaves to escape from the encirclement. By the time the saint reacted, the slaves had already fled to the city gate. She quickly ordered, "No, we can't let those slaves run away. Go and catch them back." Unfortunately, as soon as she said this, several people, including Huyang Langyan, who were hiding in the dark, appeared and stood in front of the many orc warriors. "How dare you?" Fifth-level orc exerted his pressure. All the orc warriors were frightened and took several steps back. Without those city lords and great wizards, these orc warriors were not worth mentioning at all in the eyes of Huyang Langyan and others. But with just a wave of his hand, hundreds of orc warriors were knocked to the ground. At this point, except for the ignorant residents of the city of 10,000 beasts, there was basically no one standing in the forces headed by a few city lords. Shi Yuan was relieved to see his side had won a great victory, and quickly distributed the antidote that Su Qianqian had given him to the slaves. "Everyone, take the antidote quickly. Only when you have the strength can we go to the forest of beasts. You are not allowed to leave." Seeing that many slaves were about to escape, the red fox saint still ran out and said to the stunned residents of Wanshou City, "Are you going to watch these slaves run away? We are holding this sacrificial ceremony to pray for rain for everyone present. Without these slaves, the sacrificial ceremony for praying for rain cannot be carried out, and everyone will just die of thirst." Seeing that she began to incite the residents of Wanshou City, Huyang waved his hand, and a huge rock rose from the ground and trapped the red fox saint in place. Author's words. In the evening, you can stock up and read together in the next chapter. The new male protagonist will appear. Humph, what a unreasonable red fox saint. Shi Yuan couldn't help cursing. You said that this sacrificial ceremony was to pray for rain for everyone, but what if the slaves were killed and it didn't rain? How are you going to pay for the loss of these lives? If I say it will rain, it will rain. The red fox saint gritted her teeth and immediately retorted, "I am the saint, the messenger of the beast god. How can I be false? Everyone just listen to my orders and kill these slaves, and the heavy rain will come immediately."
Bah!
You fake saint, stop trying to deceive people. There is no such thing. Seeing that everyone was persuaded, Shi Yuan couldn't help but curse. Why do we have to sacrifice the blood of slaves to pray for rain? The beast god is not that cruel. I think you have ulterior motives. Every orc in Wanshou City, do you believe in me, the saint, or that guy who appeared out of nowhere? At this moment, the red fox saint completely ignored Shi Yuan and said to the many residents of Wanshou City with a sincere face, "I have been the red fox saint for so many years. I have predicted countless things that have come true. Everyone has witnessed them.
Don't you
still believe me?" She had a compassionate and cold look on her face, and with the red fox ears on her head and the fox tail swaying slightly behind her, she really looked like a pure and innocent saint. Su Qianqian looked at the scene and curled her lips sarcastically. "Are you really praying for rain?" The red fox saint paused. After hearing what Su Qianqian said, she had a bad feeling for some reason, but she still said, "I did all this to pray for a heavy rain for all the residents of Wanshou City." "In that case, let us see what Lord Beast God has to say about the lie you made up." Su Qianqian waved her hand, and a holographic high-definition video was projected directly above the stone platform. All the orcs present raised their heads and saw that in the projected video, the Red Fox Saint had a completely different arrogant and ugly face from her current pure and innocent appearance. Yes, the blood of this little girl is the purest and is most suitable for use as a sacrifice. The city lord will definitely like it. She caressed the faces of the orc slaves, pierced their bodies with bone needles, sniffed the blood flowing on the orcs madly and obsessively, and said with a satisfied look, "With the blood of you orc slaves, the city lord will definitely be grateful to me when he comes out of seclusion. I have done so much for him and deceived so many orcs. He will definitely be willing to be my beast husband." As soon as these words came out, not only were all the orcs present stunned, but even the Red Fox Saint, who had vowed to, he also widened his eyes in disbelief. How is it possible? How could these things happen? The next second, the Red Fox Saint looked at Su Qianqian with resentment. This must be fake. You must have used some kind of supernatural power to make it happen. This can't be real. No, I don't have that ability. These are all shown to you by the Lord Beast God. Su Qianqian curled the corners of her lips slightly, but her fingers behind her back were quietly controlling the micro-projector. This video was actually recorded by her after she eavesdropped on the conspiracy of several city lords and secretly returned to the underground cave where the slaves were imprisoned.
Impossible.
You are lying. How could the beast god appear? There is no way that there can be a beast god in this world. In her heart was revealed in public. The Red Fox Saint clamored like a madman, completely forgetting that her identity as a saint was based on her belief in the beast god. Therefore, after she said this, she attracted countless angry glances from the crowd. But at this moment, the Red Fox Saint seemed to be unaware of these gazes. She was still hysterically pointing at the picture that appeared above the stone platform, shouting madly, "Fake! This is all fake! This can't be real!" However, the next scene that played made her crazy shouting stop abruptly. If I didn't want to use this fake saint to appease the beastmen in Wanshou City, I would never let her stay in Wanshou City and hinder our plans. Let's just endure for a few more days. When the saintess has bewitched all the orcs in Wanshou City to kill those slaves and blood flows like a river, the lord of the city will surely not be able to resist the temptation of blood and will come out early.
Haha, that's right.
We have fed all these slaves poison. As long as the city lord sucks the blood of these slaves, he will die of the poison. The entire Wanshou City will be ruled by the three of us. The extremely arrogant laughter of the three people came from the extremely clear picture, which made all the orcs present shudder. The saint glared at the three city lords who had already been tied up by thorny vines and could not move. You listen to me. This is not true. Seeing this, the lord of Nanchung tried to refute. All of this was made up by this Sumu. It's fake. There is no such thing at all. The Lord Beast God has appeared in person to expose your lies. What else do you have to quibble about? But the crowd no longer trusted the words of the city lords, and they cursed. And you fake saint, you actually used us? You are not a messenger of the Beast God at all. You have been deceiving us all along. The furious crowd picked up stones on the ground and threw them at the saint on the stone platform and the three city lords who were trapped by vines.
No.
I am real. I am really the messenger of the Beast God. The Red Fox Saint tried to argue, but the images played by the holographic video and her previous words made everyone unconvinced. She could only ask the orc warriors beside her for help. What are you standing there for? Come and protect me. I am the saint, and it is these stupid civilians who are blind. But no one paid any attention to her arrogant words. At this moment, the orc warriors were not only somewhat unbelievable, but more importantly, filled with hatred. It turned out that the saint they had worked so hard to serve and please was not a real saint at all, but a bloodthirsty and brutal person who wanted to sacrifice living people. He usually orders them around and is arrogant and rude to them, but I never expected that he actually has such dirty thoughts in private. Those orc warriors who were used to being ordered around by the saint would have wanted to strangle her to death with their own hands if they hadn't taken into consideration her female identity. After seeing that the orc warrior could not be controlled, the Red Fox Saint quickly calmed down and turned her spearhead towards Su Qianqian, who was standing on the obelisk. Okay, very good. You say I'm not a saint, so what evidence do you have to prove that you are the messenger of the beast god? If you can't prove it, I can completely suspect that these images were all created by you using your supernatural powers, and they are not the real manifestations of the beast god at all. Hee, I naturally have a way to prove that I am the messenger of the beast god. Su Qianqian smiled coldly and suddenly looked up at the flowing clouds in the sky. Wisps of white clouds in the blue sky, and the thin sunlight creates a pale color. She had been thinking before if she had water powers it would be great. On such a hot day, if she could use water powers to make a heavy rainfall, would the rain-praying ceremony stop? But then she thought she already had something as amazing as the plain trading system. Why did she have to use supernatural powers to bring heavy rain to the residents of Wanshou City? So, last night, she went to her friend in the interstellar plane and bought a device that could make it rain artificially. So, under the resentful gaze of the saint, Su Qianqian slowly took out a palm-sized silver-gray pistol and fired at the clouds in the sky. With a puff sound, a large amount of catalyst spread in the clouds, and the originally thin clouds suddenly gathered, condensed, became thicker and darker. The originally clear skies suddenly turned gloomy. Before everyone could react to what was happening, there was a loud boom, and heavy rain began to fall in an instant.
Then,
It's raining. Oh my god. It's the beast god appearing. He really is the beast god's messenger. All the orcs looked at this scene in shock. They really thought it was the appearance of the beast god and knelt down towards Su Qianqian on the obelisk. Su Qianqian turned her wrist, and the silver-gray pistol disappeared without a trace. She lowered her eyes to look at the saint who was standing there in shock with a look of disbelief on her face, and said word by word, "Now, what else do you have to say?" This is a catalyst used for artificial rainfall from the interstellar plane. Not only is it simple and convenient to operate, it is also extremely effective. This heavy rain will not stop for 3 to 5 days. The Red Fox Saint had a pale face. Under the heavy rain, the Red Fox ears on her head were soaked. They seemed to be unable to hold on any longer and fell down, along with the fox tail behind her. All the orcs were shocked at this scene. Some sharp-eyed orcs even discovered the bone needles hidden in the fox ears and tail. They shouted as if they had discovered a great secret. This Red Fox Saint is really a fake. Look, the tail and ears are pinned on with bone needles. They are not her own at all. Oh my god. Even the tail and ears are fake. We have been deceived for so many years. This female is so despicable. She actually lied to us. We must let the beast god punish her severely. Facing the curses that surged like a tide, the Red Fox Saint seemed to have lost her soul. Her body was shaky, and she finally fell to her knees on the ground. The heavy rain continued to fall, washing the ground and extinguishing the heat wave. The blazing sun was also blocked by dark clouds. The cool raindrops fell on my face, which was so cool and comfortable. Who had finally received rain after a long drought, couldn't stop cheering. While cheering, they knelt down repeatedly towards Su Qianqian on the obelisk, shouting in unison words of thanks to the messenger of the beast god. However, at this exciting moment, the look in everyone's eyes when they looked at Su Qianqian suddenly changed. Everyone seemed to have suddenly pressed the pause button, stopped cheering, looked up, and stared blankly at Su Qianqian standing on the obelisk, with amazement in their eyes, but more of it was disbelief. Su Qianqian wiped the rain off her face and asked in confusion, "No, why are you looking at me?" "No, Su Muyu." Shi Yuan raised his head, his eyes widened as never before, and the finger pointing at Su Qianqian began to tremble uncontrollably. "How did you become a female?" "What?" Su Chu quickly looked down at herself. Her originally tall stature of 1.89 meters had shrunk into a delicate and soft body, with clean and fair skin, bright and beautiful facial features, plump breasts, slender waist, and long legs. Her whole body showed off her feminine characteristics. What happened? Could it be that the disguise cloak has failed? Su Qianqian was dumbfounded. After she came to her senses, she quickly touched the disguise cloak on her shoulders that was wet from the rain. Disguise. Failed? Failed.
Oh.
Why didn't you tell her in advance that the disguise cloak would become ineffective once it came into contact with water? Su Qianqian was so upset that she wanted to open the plane system to question them immediately, but the next second, she saw the 3 city lords who were originally trapped by the thorny vines suddenly shook off the surrounding vines and shouted at the many orcs who were still stunned. She's a female. A female with supernatural powers. She's the holy female gifted to us by the beast god. Quick, catch her. As soon as these words were spoken, all the orcs reacted. What is a holy female? She is an existence comparable to the beast god. She is born with powerful supernatural powers, and only one is born once every thousands of years. Once it appears, it will become the object of crazy scramble in the entire beast world. In an instant, almost all the orcs rushed towards the obelisk. Stop it! Yin Shuo, Hu Yang and the others stepped forward and protected Su Qianqian behind them. How dare you do such a thing? Have you forgotten who caused this heavy rain? Of course we do. At this time, the Lord of North City slowly walked out, looking at Su Qianqian with a look of determination that could not be concealed. This is the heavy rain that Lord Beast God has sent down for us. Similarly, he has also given us this rare holy female that is only seen once in 1,000 years. How can we let her go so easily? After that, he waved his hand and ordered all the orc warriors. We must capture the holy female. This is a blessing bestowed upon us by the Lord Beast God. This legendary holy female is 1,000 times, 10,000 times more precious than the position of City Lord. We cannot let her go no matter what. Just as all the orc warriors rushed forward, the orc slaves who were originally led by Shi Yuan to escape stepped forward and blocked the obelisk. Stop. She is our master. You are not allowed to touch her. Get out of here, you slaves! The Lord of North City yelled angrily. This is a holy female. How can you slaves be allowed to touch her? As he said this, he ordered the orc warriors to kill the slaves who were in the way. But the slaves were not afraid at all, and still stood in front of the obelisk. Mountain Cat even shouted at Su Qianqian urgently, Brother Sumu, run away quickly and leave us alone. Su Qianqian covered her face helplessly. Who is saving whom? Obviously, as long as you guys escape, she can easily deal with a few city lords. When the two sides were in a stalemate, the originally calm ground began to shake violently, and the stone platform suddenly cracked with a loud bang. A dark blue python shot out into the sky. This scene happened so suddenly that everyone was stunned. Su Qianqian stood on the obelisk, looking at the huge snake-like creature that suddenly appeared. It was dozens of feet long, covered with blue-black scales, and had a huge head with a pair of sharp horns on top. However, this pair of sharp horns is completely different from the ones carved on the token. The top of the sharp horns is slightly forked, more like a unicorn horn, and there is a sense of majesty of a real dragon. City Lord! Someone shouted, and all the orcs in the City of Beasts knelt down before the giant python. A moment, the entire sacrificial ceremony was eerily quiet. All the beast men lowered their heads in fear, not daring to look up at the giant python in front of them. Only Su Qianqian. She stood on the obelisk in a daze, looking around with confusion in her eyes, just staring quietly at the huge forest python opposite. As if it had sensed her gaze, the huge creature suddenly looked towards her, its eyes as red as blood, filled with a chilling hostility. Su Qianqian couldn't help but hold her breath. Under such a gaze, she felt an unprecedented pressure that made it almost hard for her to breathe. Lord Mayor. The Lord of North City knelt on the ground, his knees trembling uncontrollably. He tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart and said in a flattering voice, Look, this is the holy female that we have prepared for you with great difficulty. As long as you suck her blood, you will be able to achieve great success and break through the realm. Lord City Lord, please don't believe him. Before the Lord of North City finished speaking, the slaves spoke up one after another. The city lords want to frame you. They want to occupy the entire Wonsho city, and they put poison in our food. As long as you suck blood, you will be poisoned to death. Su Qianqian looked at this scene and couldn't help pursing her lips. These slaves really tried their best to save her, and they even dared to stand up and speak at this time. But will this so-called city lord believe it? The mountain cat said that the snake clan practiced the method of snake shedding, which required a large amount of blood to reshape the snake body and resist fate. He's showing up at this time in order to suck all the blood of these orcs? Su Qianqian subconsciously touched the boundary stone hidden under her neck. If the city lord really wanted to kill people and suck all the blood of the people present, she could escape into the boundary stone. But what about these slaves? What nonsense are you slaves talking about? Shut up. The Lord of North City shouted angrily, then turned to look at the giant python in front of him and said in an extremely flattering tone, Lord, please don't listen to the words of these slaves. They don't want to become sacrifices, so they deliberately say these words to deceive you. All you have to do is dash. However, before he could finish his words, the giant python swung its tail, and the Lord of North City was thrown dozens of meters away. He fell heavily to the ground, spitting blood from his mouth, and fainted. Beatty, the great wizard of North City, exclaimed. He subconsciously wanted to save the Lord of North City, but his body seemed to be fixed in place, unable to move at all. He could only turn his head and look at the other two lords opposite. What are you standing there for? Go check on Beatty. However, the two city lords seemed to have not heard his words at all. They knelt on the ground with their heads buried low, not daring to raise their heads to look at the giant python in front of them. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, the Great Witch of North City became furious, and he raised his head and roared at Su Qianqian on the obelisk. Damn it! What did you do to our bodies? Why can't I move my body? Let me go. He finished speaking. The huge snake body that was like a dragon swung towards him. There was a loud boom, and the Great Wizard of North City was thrown away by a powerful force. Before his body hit the ground, it turned into a white ape and broke into pieces, turning into fragments that scattered all over the ground. Seeing this scene, Su Qianqian almost couldn't help but take a breath. 7th rank Great Wizard was easily beaten to his true form. Not even a complete corpse was left. The heavy rain was still falling, dyeing the ground scarlet, and everyone's heart was in their throat. According to legend, the Lord Mayor of Wonsho City is bloodthirsty and brutal, killing people without blinking an eye and showing no mercy. This is the first time they have faced such a Lord Mayor so directly. Cold, ruthless, cruel. It seemed as if all lives were worthless in his eyes. All the orcs present did not cheer for the death of the Great Witch of West City. Instead, they knelt on the ground in fear, lowered their heads, and were filled with terror. They were all afraid that they would be the next to die and become the sacrifice in the eyes of the city lord. However, at this extremely tense moment, the Red Fox Saint suddenly rushed out, shouting with excitement in her voice, "Sir, I have waited for you for so many years, and you finally came out." She looked at the giant python with eyes full of admiration and affection. Then, as if she had mustered all her courage, she pointed at Su Qianqian standing on the obelisk and said, "Sir, you may not believe what others say, but you must believe what I say. She is truly a holy female. As long as you suck her blood, you will definitely become." She finished speaking. The huge snake head turned around. Its pair of scarlet animal eyes had no human emotions at all, and its blue-black scales shone coldly in the rain. It looked at the Red Fox Saint in front of it as if she were a dead object, cold and ruthless. Unnecessary. These 3 words were slowly uttered coldly from the giant python's mouth. Everyone was stunned. Su Qianqian was about to breathe a sigh of relief when the Red Fox Saint yelled, "Why? You have been practicing for so many years. Isn't it just to become a dragon? As long as you suck her blood, you will succeed." The sound of the dripping rain could not cover up the anxious and humble voice of the Red Fox Saint, but no matter what she said, the huge forest python seemed not to hear it and did not even look at her. It seemed that all orcs were insignificant, humble and tiny creatures in his eyes, not worth mentioning, and not worthy of him even bowing his head and giving a glance. The giant python slowly raised its head, and its cold and ruthless eyes looked towards the sky. Su Qianqian also subconsciously looked up at the sky when she saw this. The heavy rain was still falling. At some point, the entire sky had turned dark, with clouds surging, as if something was brewing, and faint purple lightning surging. What is this? Su Qianqian was stunned. Such thick clouds were definitely not caused by artificial rainfall. But in the blink of an eye, the sky was covered with dark clouds, lightning and thunder. At this moment, a purple lightning suddenly dropped from the rolling clouds in the sky. The giant python seemed to be prepared and faced it fearlessly. Everyone looked at this scene in amazement, not knowing what was happening. But at this moment, Su Qianqian has already reacted. This is not an ordinary thunderstorm at all, but a thunder tribulation. This giant python is going through a thunderstorm. Run. Being hit by this thing can kill you. Su Qianqian's cry was shattered into unrecognizable words by the thunder and lightning. At the same time, the purple lightning carrying the power of heavenly thunder struck the giant python hard. With a loud bang, thick smoke filled the air and the smell of burning and paste rushed into the nose. Everyone finally reacted and fled in all directions. The entire cloud layer was surging, and purple lightning was brewing one after another in the dark clouds, striking the giant python mercilessly. Wherever lightning struck, sand and rocks flew everywhere, and deep gullies were split into pieces in the earth. It's the beast god. At this time, someone shouted. The beast god is angry. As everyone was fleeing in panic, the lords of South City and East City stood up. The fear and terror on their faces were completely gone. They pointed proudly at the giant python that had resisted all the thunderbolts by itself and said, "See, this is the fate of offending the beast god." He killed innocent people indiscriminately and angered the beast god, which resulted in this kind of punishment from the thunderbolts. The vortex formed by the calamity clouds, lightning kept falling, wave after wave. Each lightning bolt was almost as thick as an arm, and purple to black, cutting through the sky like a sharp sword, as if it could make the whole world tremble. No one can escape unscathed from such a thunderstorm. However, in just a moment, Su Qianqian clearly saw that the giant python's huge body was covered with scars and was charred black by the lightning, with no blood visible. The strong smell of blood mixed with the rain was dispersed and diluted little by little. Su Qianqian looked at the orcs fleeing everywhere, and then looked at the giant python lying in a pool of blood. This was clearly different from what the mountain cat said. The Wu snake clan's transformation from a dragon to a dragon is a skill that goes against the laws of heaven and earth, so a large amount of blood is needed to reshape the snake body and resist destiny. However, with so many orcs and slaves here, he didn't even take a second look at them, nor did he suck the blood of anyone.
Why?
Is this happening? Doesn't he need to suck blood to resist the thunder? However, before Su Qianqian could figure it out, the Lord of South City and the Lord of East City had already picked up the stone spears on the ground and quietly approached the giant python in the pool of blood. Be careful! Before the brain could react, Su Qianqian had already shouted. The giant python looked over suddenly and found the lords of East City and South City who were preparing to launch a sneak attack. It swung its huge tail, and the two lords were thrown out at the same time, spitting blood and fainting. Su Qianqian was just about to breathe a sigh of relief, but the giant python opposite suddenly looked at her. Be a hint of indifference, almost mocking, in that deep and cold gaze. Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment, and the next second, someone picked her up from behind. Yin Shua's low voice rang in her ears. "Don't worry about him, let's go." She subconsciously turned her head and saw that Shijue, who had transformed into a silver eagle, had already flown high into the sky with all the slaves on his back and was heading towards the forest of beasts. At this moment, Yin Shua was holding her in his arms, with his silver-gray wings spread out behind him, and he chased after her. Su Qianqian poked her head out from Yin Shua's arms to look at the giant python that was still undergoing the tribulation behind her. The calamity clouds looming above the city of 10,000 beasts were still surging, continuously sending down thunder and lightning, which hit the giant python squarely. The giant python seemed to finally be unable to bear the pain. It howled miserably, and its huge body was smashed to the ground, making a low humming sound. Amidst the lightning and thunder, the last thunder tribulation finally appeared. A thick black lightning bolt several dozen meters thick descended from the long-brewing vortex of disaster clouds, slowly descending with a powerful and terrifying aura that could destroy the world. The giant python raised its head from the pool of blood, and with a desperate momentum, it charged head-on at the lightning tribulation. When the two collided, the surrounding space seemed to be broken and distorted, bursting out with unprecedented light. The sky became as bright as snow, and all the thunder and roar were shattered in that brightness. Su Qianqian blinked, but could not see anything clearly. Everything is gone. The calamity clouds disappeared, and the thunder calamity also disappeared. The giant python also disappeared. Except for the heavy rain that was still falling, everything was gone. Is he
Dead? Or
He successfully overcame the tribulation and ascended to heaven? Su Qianqian was still in a daze, and the next second Yin Shua held her head and buried it in his arms. Don't look at it if you're scared. After hearing this, Su Qianqian realized that her body was actually trembling slightly. Because of that horrible thunder catastrophe? Having witnessed such a huge and cruel thunder tribulation with her own eyes, she couldn't tell what kind of feeling it was, shock or fear. Human beings are so insignificant in front of the thunder, as insignificant as a speck of dust. When a thunder strikes, everything will vanish into thin air. Will she experience such a test in the future? After a long time, Su Qianqian closed her eyes tightly and leaned her head in Yin Shua's arms. 3 days later,
beasts.
Su Qianqian walked out of the makeshift awning and looked at the clear blue sky above her head after the rain. She took a breath of the fresh air unconsciously. The sunlight shone through the cumulus clouds and fell on the trees not far away, making the large trees washed by the rain look even greener and more lush. After this heavy rain, the entire beast world seemed to be completely renewed. The soil became moist and fertile, the plants regained vitality, and the previously dry rivers were filled with water again. Su Qianqian looked around at the vibrant scene around her and became more and more satisfied. At this time, a voice came from not far away. Qianqian, look what we brought back for you. When he turned around, he saw a white tiger running towards him with a few half-dead prey in its mouth. Next to him, the silver-gray silver eagle was not about to give up. Its sharp claws were holding a few bloody prey, and it was also flying towards him. A tiger and an eagle almost landed in front of Su Qianqian at the same time. However, Lang Yan walked slowly behind, also holding a few prey in his hands. Shi Yuan and his companions squeezed out from the awning, and when they saw the prey all over the ground, they danced with joy. Great! With so much prey, we can have a good meal tonight. The mountain cats came out from the awning, saw the prey, and smiled. Because of the heavy rain during the past 3 days, everyone had been taking shelter in the awning and had hardly gone out hunting. They had been relying entirely on the food distributed by Su Qianqian to survive. Seeing the prey on the ground, Shifang and Nanwu rolled up their sleeves and started working. The slaves nearby also came out from the awning to help, skinning the prey, collecting firewood, and building the stove. Having a lot of fun. Su Qianqian looked at them, and a comfortable smile appeared on her face. Everyone was quite adaptable to the life here. She turned her head to look at the awning next to her. It was a temporary structure made of leaves and branches. It could only be used to temporarily shelter from the rain and was not suitable for long-term residence. It seems that the progress of building the house needs to be accelerated. While Shifang and the others were preparing food, Su Qianqian walked around the area and basically determined the orientation and layout of the house. She chose a flat place that was sheltered from the wind and facing the sun, then made a mark with a paint pen. When the materials for building the house were ready, she used this point as the center and began to build the house around it. Finally, she built an indestructible wall outside the house, which made it safe and beautiful. As for the materials for building a house, Su Qianqian took out paper and pen and began to think about it. First comes the foundation. The construction of the foundation is the key to the stability of the house, so you must not be careless. It is best to use stone or brick to build the foundation. Bricks require a lot of time to be fired, and we don't have that much time now, so we can only use stones to cover them first, and then consider building a kiln to fire bricks when we have free time in the future. Then comes the wall structure, which also has two options, blue bricks or adobe. There was also no time to fire blue bricks, so we could only use adobe walls. However, adobe walls are simple and convenient, can be made from local materials, and have excellent properties such as being warm in winter and cool in summer. They are many times better than those airtight caves. Adobe walls are very simple, requiring only clay, sand, and silt, all readily available by the river. So, Su Qianqian called Shan Mao and asked him to take a few slaves to the river to dig some mud and sand. What remains is the roof and wooden structure frame, which are mainly made of wood. The house bears the weight of wooden beams and pillars, which have been prepared in advance. Su Qianqian called Yin Shua and Huyang again and asked them to lead a few slaves to move the wood that had been cut earlier. Naturally, the two of them agreed happily and went there in a hurry. The last step is to find some stones to build the foundation. Su Qianqian planned to go find it herself. After all, the foundation was the key to the stability of the house. She was not confident in handing it over to others, so she decided to go find it herself to feel more at ease. Lang Yan, please go with me. Okay. Lang Yan was stunned, as if he did not expect Su Qianqian to ask him to accompany her. The two walked into the forest together.
Oh.
These youngsters are so energetic. Shiju couldn't help but sigh as he looked at Lang Yan and Su Qianqian who were walking away. But the white-bearded priest sitting next to him curled his lips in dissatisfaction. Why should we let the wolf accompany us? And let's go alone. No, I have to find Huyang. If this kid is not smart, Sumo will be kidnapped by the wolf. Shiju. No. Who is it that tried every possible means to prevent Huyang and Sumo from hanging out together all day? Hey, don't bother me. Seeing the white-bearded priest getting up to call for help, Shijue quickly pulled him back. My Yin Shua hasn't said anything yet. Why are you so anxious? Can your Yin Shua compare with my Huyang? The white-bearded priest glared at him. Huyang hangs around Su Mu every day. She must like my Huyang the most. No, Eruo. What are you talking about? Shijue said with a stern face. It's obvious that my Yin Shua has a better relationship with Su Mu. Not only did she save my Yin Shua's life, she also always protected him. She must like my Yin Shua the most.
Impossible.
She likes Huyang the most. She likes Yin Shua the most. Listening to the quarrel between the two, Shifang and Nanwu, who were processing the meat, shook their heads helplessly. Hey, wasn't it said that the Silver Eagle family and the White Tiger family have been friends for generations? Why did they start quarreling over such a trivial matter? Shi Yuan was fiddling with the big pot left by Su Qianqian. He had no time to listen to anything else. He just kept stuffing seasonings into the pot. Onion, ginger, dried chili peppers, star anise, cinnamon. He put as much as he could get, as if he wanted to stuff it all in. What are you doing? Nanwu turned around and saw this scene. He was so scared that the bone blade in his hand that was cutting meat almost dropped. He quickly kicked Shi Yuan away and said, "These seasonings are very precious. Why did you put so much in at once?" Shi Yuan touched his nose and said, "Didn't Su Mu say that adding these seasonings would make the food taste better? I was thinking if I put more, would it taste better?" Nanwu was so angry that he wanted to kick him again. "Get out of here. What are you talking about? Don't waste good things. Let me do it. You go do something else. Don't get in the way here." Being scolded, Shi Yuan could only leave with his nose touched in disappointment. Turning around, he saw Xiao Zhou running towards him, holding a big, plump fish in his arms. He couldn't help but say with joy, "Brother Shi Yuan, look, what is this?" "Fish." Shi Yuan's eyes lit up, and he stepped forward, grabbed Xiao Zhou and asked, "Hurry up and tell me, Where did you get this fish? That Lang Yan caught before became extremely delicious after being processed by Su Qianqian. After tasting that delicious taste, he has never been able to forget it. Unfortunately, the river has dried up and there are no fish in the river. Now, seeing such big and fat fish, how can he not be excited? Xiao Jiu pointed at Shan Mao and his friends who were digging mud by the river and said, after the heavy rain, there were fish in the river again.
There were so many of them.
This one was caught for me by Shan Mao brother. She could finish her words. Shi Yuan ran to the river. Shi Fang and Nan shook their heads helplessly again. At the same time, Su Qianqian and Lang Yan have already entered the mountains. There are many large rocks in the forest, and there are countless flat stones suitable for making foundations. When Su Qianqian saw a suitable one, she waved her hand and put it directly into her storage ring without waiting for Lang Yan to take action. Once or twice, but later on, Lang Yan couldn't help himself and said, I came in with you, but it seems like I can't help you at all. He lowered his head in disappointment, his gray-blue hair drooping slightly, hiding the look in his eyes. Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment, then quickly responded, How? How could it be?
Of course you can help me if you come with me.
I will be responsible for collecting the stones, and you will be responsible for protecting me. If a beast jumps out from somewhere nearby, I will be finished. The man lowered his eyes. His handsome features still looked a little lonely in the sunlight, and his low voice also inexplicably carried some sadness. You are very powerful now, more powerful than me. No blind beast will dare to come out and attack you. Su Qianqian. No. What happened to Lang Yan recently? Why do you always feel sorry for yourself? How could she comfort him? Thinking about it, Su Qianqian took action directly, grasped Lang Yan's hands, and said sincerely, I have become powerful. Shouldn't you be happy for me? Lang Yan, you know that my identity as a holy female has been exposed. If I am not strong enough, no one can protect me except myself. I understand. Lang Yan lowered his eyes and looked at the girl's slender white fingers and curled the corners of his lips bitterly. I am happy for you that you can become stronger, but I just feel that I have already. I'm not worthy to stand by your side anymore. Last few words, Lang Yan pursed his lips and never uttered them, not knowing whether it was because he found it difficult to say or for other reasons. Su Qianqian noticed his depressed mood and could only change the subject, asking, Lang Yan, you came to Wanshou City to find me this time. Besides wanting to make sure I was safe, did you also want me to return to the Grey Wolf tribe? I did have this idea before. Lang Yan turned his head away and said honestly, but since I met you again, I realized. This idea is no longer realistic. They were in the Grey Wolf tribe. Although he did not openly stop Su Qianqian from leaving the tribe, he privately believed that it would be difficult for a female to survive outside without the protection of the tribe. So he made up his mind that after Su Qianqian left, he would follow her quietly, protecting her in secret while waiting for her to regret it, because she couldn't stand the hard life outside. But he didn't expect that the incident of the stray orcs would happen later. But now it seems how ridiculous his previous thoughts were. Lang Yan, now you can see that I am living very well here. Looking at the silent Lang Yan, Su Qianqian slowly said, Look, there are so many people accompanying me. Even though they know that I am a holy female, they still treat me as Su Mu, not a holy female. They respect me and treat me as a friend. Do you think the Grey Wolf tribe can give me such a life?
Lang Yan was silent.
Regarding this point, the Grey Wolf tribe was completely defeated, and he had nothing to say. So, Su Qianqian changed the subject and continued, I don't mind you telling Jillian about my current life, but when you go back to tell Jillian that I'm safe, please ask her if she wants to come and live with me. Lang Yan. So the reason you asked me to accompany you to the forest was so that I could go back and tell Jillian about this. Haha. Su Qianqian laughed dryly twice and quickly added, Of course, you can also come here, live with me, live with everyone. We all welcome you. Lang Yan. Okay, I will. That's great. Su Qianqian gave him a big hug immediately after hearing that and asked, When are you going to leave? The joy of being hugged by a young girl for the first time just surged into his heart, but when he heard Su Qianqian's next question, Lang Yan's heart suddenly sank again. Are you so anxious to get rid of me? Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this and quickly said, Well, of course not. I was just asking casually, and I prepared some food for you to take with you on the way. Lang Yan finally smiled again. Then I will set off tomorrow. Okay, then I'll prepare food for you tonight.
Su Qianqian nodded, feeling relieved.
It turns out that it's so difficult to coax a man, and she didn't have much experience before. When Su Qianqian returned with enough stones, Shi Fang and his companions had already prepared the meal. Shan Mao also led the slaves to bring back a large amount of mud, sand, and clay. Yin Shua and Huyang even brought back all the wood that they had cut earlier and piled it up next to them, like a small mountain. In just half a day, the materials for building the house were almost ready. Su Qianqian couldn't help but shake her head and sigh. The orcs had good physical fitness, great strength, and worked quickly. In their eyes, a small project like building a house was not a difficult task at all. Brother Sumo, oh no, it's Sister Qianqian, come and have dinner. Su Qianqian turned around when she heard the voice and saw Xiaojie sitting next to Shi Yuan, waving her hands enthusiastically at her. There was some mud on her thin little face, hands and hair, but this did not hinder her cheerful mood. It was the first time that Su Qianqian saw such a happy smile on Xiaojie's face.
But
in the future, we have to ask the orcs to pay attention to improving hygiene. Maybe she could make some soap or something. Su Qianqian remembered that when she was looking for stones in the forest just now, she seemed to have seen a few soapberry trees. The soapberry tree is an ancient natural cleaning material that can be used to wash clothes and hair, removing grease and dirt. After the house is built, she can collect some to make soap, and then she won't have to worry about the slaves' cleaning problems anymore. After thinking about it, Su Qianqian walked towards the crowd happily. Everyone was sitting around a fire, on top of which were several large pots bubbling with food. The aroma of food wafted out from them, but no one picked up their chopsticks. They were all waiting for her to come back and eat together. Su Qianqian waved her hand. "Don't just stand there. Let's eat quickly." As she spoke, she sat down next to Shi Fang. Nanwa beside her quickly filled a large bowl of stewed meat for her and said, "Try it first. Although it may not be as delicious as what you made last time, Shi Fang and I will try our best." Su Qianqian took the bowl, took a bite, and couldn't help but raise her eyebrows and said, "Not bad. It's already about 70% similar to what she did last time." I have to say that Shi Fang is really talented in cooking. After only seeing it once, he can use those seasonings freely and fully utilize them in stewing meat. This may be simple for a modern person, but it is not an easy thing for an orc who has never been trained in modern gourmet cooking techniques. Shi Fang not only learned how to make it, but also made it so delicious. He is extremely talented. Su Qianqian picked up another piece of tender and delicious meat and put it into her mouth. While tasting it, she gave some advice. "It tastes good, but it will be more flavorful if you cut the meat into smaller pieces." "Okay." Shi Fang nodded and took note of it carefully. "I will pay attention to it next time." Then he handed over a skewer of grilled fish. "Then try this." Su Qianqian's eyes lit up when she saw the grilled fish. "Did you catch this by the river?" "Yes." Shi Yuan nodded quickly, holding Xiaoju next to him with one hand and patting his strong chest proudly. "This is the credit of Xiaojiu and me. Since the heavy rain, there are fish in the river again, and we caught a lot of fish." "Is that so?" Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh again that she had chosen a good location to settle down. Not only were there mountains and water, but there were also fish in the water. These fish could be used as long-term food. She could also buy some fish fry from the system mall and raise them there, so she wouldn't have to worry about running out of food anymore. She took the grilled fish, tasted it, and gave it high praise. "The grilled fish is good. It's very delicious." Shi Fang was like a child waiting for his homework to be checked. After hearing this, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "As long as you like it." Unexpectedly, as soon as he said this, he immediately attracted 3 sharp and slightly warning glances. Shi Fang was so frightened that he almost dropped the spoon in his hand. Su Qianqian saw this and quickly said, Hey, stop looking at us. Let's eat quickly." Don't wait until it gets cold or it won't taste good anymore. Everyone start to eat. However, except for Shifang and a few others, no one was used to using chopsticks. After using them awkwardly for a while, they simply threw them aside and started eating with their bowls in hand. It was the first time for everyone to eat such delicious and clean food. No one said a word during the meal. They all just focused on eating. Fortunately, Shifang had prepared enough food, and several large pots were filled with stewed meat, which was enough for everyone to have a full meal. Su Qianqian ate while observing everyone. Excluding the few people from Shifang, there were about 30 slaves, mostly males and children. There were only 4 or 5 females, and they were all older and infertile. However, Su Qianqian had asked Lang Yan before. The average lifespan of ordinary orcs is about 250 years old, so these orcs who looked older to her were actually still in their prime. It was just because they were abused and bullied when they were captives, and they had too many injuries on their bodies, which resulted in their physical fitness not being as good as normal orcs. But these are not problems for Su Qianqian. She has wood-related abilities and can completely heal the injuries of these slaves. Su Qianqian believes that under her leadership, this tribe will definitely develop better and better. After eating and drinking, everyone started to do what Su Qianqian had arranged earlier. The materials for building the house were almost prepared. Su Qianqian began to arrange people to build the house. First, the orcs with strong strength were responsible for carrying stones and laying the foundation. Then came the group of orcs who were more meticulous in their work. They were responsible for planing the wood with their claws, carving out various wooden patterns, which would be used later as load-bearing beams, pillars, and various wooden frame structures for the house. Finally, the younger orcs were asked to dig a hole nearby, pour sand, clay, and water into it in a certain proportion, and then add some reinforcing materials such as straw and stalks, and stomp and mix them thoroughly to ensure that the soil and straw are evenly mixed. This can ensure that the adobe wall has good performance and the bending resistance of the wall can be greatly improved. During this period, Su Qianqian also asked the nimble orcs to carve out several molds with wood, fill the mixed soil into the molds, and demold them after compacting. These bricks need to dry, which takes about 3 or 4 days, which is about the same time as the foundation is built. Everything was timed just right. These tasks are not difficult, and the orcs can do them easily. Su Qianqian doesn't have to do it herself. The orcs will do everything well. She simply left the task of building the house to everyone. At this point, Su Qianqian finally had time to deal with her own affairs. She found the priest of the White Tiger tribe, who was sitting and chatting with Shijue. "What about you guys? When are you planning to return to the tribe?" Shijue asked. The white-bearded priest shook his head helplessly. "Alas, the clan leader is seriously ill, and I want to go back soon, but Huyang doesn't want to go back with us. Huyang is a cheerful child, and he is not very mature in his actions. Is it too early to let him inherit the position of clan leader now? I don't want to either, but there is really no other way. Now in the entire tribe, only he has the talent and strength to convince the people. If it were someone else, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to suppress the other orcs in the tribe. Well, after all, if the chief's illness could be cured, there wouldn't be so much trouble." As they were talking, Su Qianqian strode over and said, "I have a pill here that can cure all diseases. Take it back. Maybe it can cure the patriarch's illness." The two of them raised their heads and looked at her. The white-bearded priest stood up excitedly. "Really? You really have that kind of magic pill?"
Qianqian nodded.
This pill was a tonic pill that she bought from the system mall at the cost of several thousand star coins. Although it was only a low-level pill, for ordinary people it had the effect of prolonging life and curing all diseases. As long as the chief of the White Tiger tribe is not fatally injured, he will surely recover immediately after taking this tonic pill. The white-bearded priest took the pill from Su Qianqian, held it in his hand as if it were extremely precious, and said repeatedly, "Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Sumo. You are really a good orc. If the tribe leader can get better, you will be the eternal benefactor of our White Tiger tribe. On behalf of the orcs of the entire White Tiger tribe, I express my sincere gratitude to you. In fact, at the beginning, He never expected that Su Qianqian would really go to the White Tiger tribe in person to help cure the chief's illness. After all, they were about to start building their own new tribe, and there was no way they would have the time to go to the White Tiger tribe. His greatest hope still lies in Hu Yang, hoping that after helping Su Mu rescue the slaves, Hu Yang will be able to return to the tribe. But obviously, he underestimated Hu Yang's stubbornness, and he was unwilling to leave no matter what. Now that Su Qianqian is willing to take out this pill that can cure all diseases, it has solved his biggest problem. Sumo, don't worry. As long as the clan leader gets better, you can let Hu Yang stay here with you forever. I won't force him to go back with us. No, he still has to go back to the tribe with you. Su Qianqian shook her head and said, after all, that is the tribe where he was born and raised. The tribe leader is seriously ill. Even if he doesn't want to inherit the position of tribe leader, he should go back with you to take care of the tribe and shoulder his responsibilities. The white-bearded priest seemed to have not expected Su Qianqian to say such a thing. He was stunned and murmured, You really think so? As he spoke, he could hardly control his tears and cried out, Sumo, you are such a good person. You are the most selfless and loyal orc I have ever seen in the world. You will definitely be able to establish a tribe that is famous throughout the entire Beast World continent. It is the luckiest thing in their lives for your people to have a chief like you. Su Qianqian blushed a little at the praise and couldn't help coughing. She turned to look at Shijue beside her and asked, What about Master Shijue? Do you have any plans for the future? Me? Shiju paused after hearing this. He didn't expect Su Qianqian to ask him such a question. He said a little embarrassedly, Actually, I want to go back to Wanshou City. Although he had agreed to stay in Qianqian Su's tribe from now on, he was still worried about the orc residents in Wanshou City, especially after what happened. He wanted to go back and see what Wanshou City had become. Su Qianqian understood his feelings very well, so she nodded and said, Then let's go back and take a look tomorrow. The situation in Wanshou City is indeed not good now. The Great Wizard of West City has died, several city lords have been seriously injured, and the people have completely lost their credibility. Add to that the huge and earth-shattering thunderstorm, and Wanshou City should be in chaos now. Thank you. Shiju nodded, and his eyes couldn't help but reveal a bit of admiration for Su Qianqian. He thought Su Qianqian would stop him from returning to Wanshou City. After all, Wanshou City was in turmoil right now, and anyone who got involved would be in trouble. The three of them were talking in the awning, but they didn't know that Hu Yang outside had already hung his head dejectedly. Shi Yuan, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but sigh, and could only comfort him. Well, Hu Yang, don't be too sad. Su Mu asked you to return to the tribe, maybe just to. However, before he could finish his words, Hu Yang had already turned around and left without looking back. Hey? Hello. Shi Yuan opened his mouth and called out subconsciously, but looking at Hu Yang's lonely back as he walked away, he couldn't help but ask, Is this guy okay? Nan Wu next to him shook his head helplessly. I guess he is really sad. The two did not dare to go and see without permission, so they could only wait outside the awning. After waiting for a long time, when the people inside had almost finished chatting, Su Qianqian came out. Sumo, you finally came out. Shi Yuan said hurriedly when he saw Su Qianqian. Go check on Hu Yang. That guy knew you wanted him to go back to the tribe, so he was very sad and ran over there alone.
Sulian yan rubet her temples helplessly.
Well, I have to go and comfort another man. Following the route pointed by Shi Yuan, Su Qianqian finally found Hu Yang in a forest. He was sitting under the shade of a tree, with his head lowered. Most of his face was in shadow, so his expression could not be seen clearly. Su Qianqian looked at it, sighed silently, and then walked over. When he saw Su Qianqian coming, Hu Yang was not as enthusiastic as before. Instead, he turned his head away and didn't look at Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian could only move her feet and stand in front of him again, and said carefully, Hu Yang. Unexpectedly, the other party interrupted her sullenly. I don't want to talk to you now, go away. Su Qianqian. In that case. Okay, I'm leaving then. I'll come back to comfort you later. Just as Su Qianqian was about to turn around and leave, someone grabbed her wrist and then her body was suddenly pulled into a strong embrace. You really leaving? Hu Yang had a resentful look on his face, staring at her with grievance and disbelief in his amber eyes. Don't you want to coax me before you leave? Shuqianqian. It was you who asked me to leave. Whatever I say is what it is. Then why don't you kiss me when I ask you to? Su Qianqian. Besides, why did you chase me away? Shuqianqian explain. I don't mean to drive you away. I just want you to go back to the tribe. That means you want to drive me away. Hu Yang said, and suddenly his face showed pity again, looking eagerly at the girl in his arms. Don't you want me to stay with you? Don't you like me? Su Qianqian. After a long while, she took a deep breath and then said in a light tone, almost coaxing a child, I like you. You are handsome, smart, cute, and likable. How can I not like you? Hu Yang was stunned, his eyes showing a confused look. Handsome? What does mean? Su Qianqian. It means that you are good-looking, tall, with broad shoulders, narrow waist, and long legs. You have a great appearance and figure. Really? Am I so good-looking in your eyes? Hu Yang seemed to be a little flattered by these words. He hugged Su Qianqian tighter and excitedly buried his head in her neck and rubbed it, and his lips seemed to brush her earlobe. Ambiguous and hot. Su Qianqian pushed him twice, but failed. She pursed her lips helplessly and said, Hu Yang, can I kiss you?
Ah?
Hu Yang suspected that he had heard it wrong. However, before he could react, the girl grabbed his chin, tilted his face up, and kissed his thin lips. This time it wasn't a light kiss. The girl's lips and tongue gently touched his lips, caressing them tenderly, lingering. Happiness came too suddenly, and Hu Yang's breathing became rapid, until his lips were bitten lightly, and his amber eyes ignited with an extremely hot flame, and the rationality in his mind seemed to collapse at this moment. He pressed the back of the girl's head hard and deep in the kiss. When the warm lips and tongue entered his mouth, he felt like a long-awaited rain. He greedily took in the girl's breath and explored every corner with all his strength. His hands held her slender waist. Gradually, he was no longer satisfied with this light kiss. His kiss became more and more passionate, and the hand holding her waist became more and more dishonest.
Well.
Okay. Stop. Feeling the pair of dishonest hands, Su Qianqian instantly regained her senses and began to push away the man on her. The man's chest that my hands touched was extremely hot through the thin animal skin. Her voice was broken into pieces by the almost aggressive kiss.
Stop.
I really can't kiss you anymore. Again, something bad will happen. She could only helplessly hold down the hand that had reached under the hem of her fur skirt. Her moist eyes were misty, her face flushed, and her swollen lips were breathing heavily. Hu Yang, be obedient and stop. The man's strong and powerful arms were covered with a little bit of sweat, and the temperature of his skin was frighteningly hot. The touch of his texture made people blush and their heart beat fast just by touching it. I don't dare. She no longer dared to flirt. The breeze blew slowly, gently brushing my cheeks, and bit by bit dispelling the remaining dryness and ambiguous atmosphere in the air. Su Qianqian looked at the flowing clouds in the sky. There were wisps of white clouds in the blue sky with a few touches of orange at the end. It turned out that dusk was approaching unknowingly. In the end, although it didn't go on. Su Qianqian's tongue tip was still numb, her fingertips were weak, and she leaned weakly on Hu Yang's chest, letting the man's fingers curl and entangle her fine, sweaty hair. Qianqian, Hu Yang hugged her waist from behind and buried his face in her shoulder with a satisfied look. I'm so happy. Shuqianqian, punto. As long as you are happy. Qianqian, I promise you I will go back to the tribe, but Hu Yang hugged Su Qianqian's waist, tilted his head and rubbed against her again. You have to wait for me. I will be back soon. I won't leave. Su Qianqian repeated again. I will always be here.
It's settled then.
Hu Yang got the assurance and rubbed Su Qianqian's cheek contentedly. At this moment, Su Qianqian really didn't have the energy to deal with him anymore, so she let Hu Yang hug her and rub against her, and do whatever he wanted. After a busy day, she barely had a good rest. Now, leaning against Hu Yang's warm and strong chest, she gradually felt sleepy. Hu Yang looked at the drowsy girl in his arms and squinted his eyes unconsciously. His amber pupils became deep and profound because of the backlight. He leaned gently beside the girl's ear and said in an imperceptible voice, "Qian, if I can't find you when I come back next time, you should know what I will do." The author has something to say. Audit Dad, please kneel down. There will be 2 more chapters in the evening. The poor and sensitive City Lord will appear soon. If you enjoy reading this, please give me a small free gift. The more gifts you give me, the more motivated I will be to update. Maybe there will be more. It's possible that there will be 4 or 5 updates. I will write them all for you even if I break my keyboard. At the same time, somewhere outside the woods. Damn it. In Shual looked at the forest entrance where no one had come out and punched the tree next to him in anger. Why did you have to accompany that stupid white tiger? Well, don't be angry. Hu Yang is leaving soon. Once he's gone, Sumu will be all yours. Shi Yuan, who was standing next to him, swallowed and said, looking at the crumbling tree. Humph. In Shuo turned around and glared at him. It's all your fault. Why did you let Qian comfort that guy? I'm not. Shi Yuan was making excuses with a guilty conscience when Shi Ju suddenly came over and said seriously, In Shuo, you'll come back to Wansho City with me tomorrow. Why? In Shuo refused immediately. I won't go. Shi Ju frowned. In Shuo, look at the state you are in now. How can you be worthy of the head of the Su clan? What do you mean? In Shuo bit his back teeth and almost squeezed out the words from between his teeth. Seeing him like this, Shi Ju could only sigh and say, when can you change your temper? When can you become more mature and steady? Come back to Wansho City with me tomorrow. If you don't have some experience, how can you be qualified to stand beside Chief Su? You can't even get her back after she was kidnapped. After saying that, he turned around and left without caring whether In Shuo would agree or not. In Shuo rarely failed to chase after him and question him clearly. He looked at Shi Ju's departing back with a frown on his face. Shi Yuan and Nanwu looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. In Shuo, what Lord Shijua said, doesn't make sense. Shi Yuan's expression became serious for once. He reached out and patted In Shuo's shoulder and said in a comforting tone, Anyway, Sumu lives here and won't run away. If you miss her, you can come back to see her anytime. After saying that, he left with Nanwu. Was left standing there alone, his face hidden in the darkness, unclear. The next day, when Su Qian heard that In Shuo was going back to Wansho City with Shijua, she was a little surprised. Has this guy changed his personality? However, it's better to leave. It's hard for her to deal with so many men every day. Although Wansho City is not far from here, and he can come back anytime and anywhere, it is very necessary to be able to separate for a while and leave some private space for each other. The most important point is that Su Qian now wants to spend more time and energy on the management of the tribe and build a strong tribe so that she can carry out the plan of planting plants unique to the Beast World continent on a large scale in the future. Although there are still a lot of star coins left in the Plane System account, she can't just sit back and enjoy all the money. She still needs to work hard to farm and earn star coins. Qian, I'm leaving. When I'm not around, you have to always think of me. Before leaving, Hu Yang shamelessly stuck to Su Qian as usual. Okay. Su Qian nodded helplessly, thinking that he was about to leave, and this would be the last time they could be intimate in public like this, so she just let him go. Then you must be careful on the road, especially you, Hu Yang. Don't always rely on your supernatural powers to pick fights anytime and anywhere. You must return to the tribe safely. Yeah. Hu Yang nodded obediently. I won't fight. I will listen to you and return to the tribe safely. Don't worry about me. Eat well and sleep well. Seeing how well-behaved and obedient he was, Su Qian smiled and subconsciously reached out to rub his ears on top of his head. But she overlooked one thing. Since she turned back to her original form, her height was a little short of reaching him. When she was about to withdraw her hand, Hu Yang lowered his head and put his ear close to hers for rubbing. Su Qian was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but feel soft at heart, so she pinched the tip of his ear. The furry and soft touch made her love it. She slowed down her voice. Be good, go early, and come back early.
Eh.
After reluctantly saying goodbye to Su Qianqian for a long time, Hu Yang was finally dragged away by the white-bearded priest. As soon as he left, In Shua followed Shiju. But he didn't come to say goodbye. This surprised Su Qianqian quite a bit. Why do I feel like this guy is having a temper tantrum? I hope it's just her illusion. Su Qianqian shook her head helplessly, turned and walked towards Shi Yuan and the others. And on the other side, Heimu looked at Su Qianqian, who was chatting and laughing with Shi Yuan and the others, and then looked at Lang Yan, who was packing his bag beside him, and confirmed again. Are you really not going to say goodbye? Lang Yan didn't stop his movements, but said in a low voice, No need, it's good to leave quietly like this. When he said goodbye, there was always a feeling that he would never see him again.
He doesn't like that.
Okay. Heimu sighed, helped tie the bag on the ground to his pocket, and couldn't help but say, Actually, I can go back alone. If you really don't want to leave, you can. No need. Lang Yan put on his bag expressionlessly, turned his back, and walked towards the exit of the forest of 10,000 beasts. This is also good. Seeing the resolute look on Lang Yan's face, Heimu finally stopped saying anything, picked up his bag, and chased after him. But before completely walking out of the forest of 10,000 beasts, Lang Yan couldn't help but look back at the girl surrounded by the crowd in the distance. His cold brows softened a little. This is just a temporary departure, not a permanent separation. He believed that the next time he stood in front of her, he would have the power to protect her and stay with her forever. Once the Grey Wolf clan identifies a person, it is forever. Hu Yang, In Shua, and Lang Yan did not affect the construction of the new tribe, and everyone continued to do what they were supposed to do. The only one who has an impact is probably Shi Yuan. He seemed like he had lost his playmate and was sad all day long. But fortunately, within 2 days, he became friends with Bobcat and the others again. On this day, Su Qianqian was directing the slaves to add a wooden ceiling to the newly built roof. Because there were no tiles, in order to waterproof and enhance stability, they had to cover the wooden ceiling with layers of large leaves and mud mixed with hay, and then fix it with wood around it. While they were busy, Shi Yuan came running over with 2 slave brothers. Sumo, look, what have we found? Hearing the sound, Su Qianqian subconsciously turned her head to look, and saw Shi Yuan holding a bunch of wet mud with whites in a large leaf. The whites on the mud were densely packed and still wriggling, which made people's scalp tingle. Before Su Qianqian could even open her mouth to speak, Nanwu next to her frowned in disgust. Shi Yuan, can you find something to do? Why are you doing these things? They're so disgusting. Xiao Ju also poked his head out to look. When he saw the dense white spots crawling on the wet mud, he frowned and said, Brother Shi Yuan, what are these? Are they bugs? This is a termite nest,
Su Qianqian said.
She walked forward, not showing disgust as everyone imagined, but came to the 2 slave brothers, bent down slightly and asked, Did you find this? Where did you find it? These 2 brothers are the slave brothers who knelt down on the spot and acknowledged Su Qianqian as their master when they ran out of supplies to exchange for ice. The taller one is called a Da, and the shorter one is called Aer. The 2 of them are usually quiet, but they work very hard. It's in the woods across the river. The 2 men seemed to have not expected Su Qianqian to come over and talk to them. They were a little flattered and shyly pointed to the other side of the river with a little nervousness in their voices. Su Qianqian looked in the direction they pointed. In order to make it easier to catch fish, Shi Fang and his men had recently set up a pair of thick wooden poles on both sides of the river to make it easier for everyone to cross the river. Slaves often went to the other side of the river to collect straw and other things. Su Qianqian has been busy these days and has not been there yet. Good kids, don't be nervous. She smiled gently at the 2 brothers. The things you found are just right to be useful. After that, she stood up and said to everyone, The termite nests that Ada and Air found are a very good waterproof material. You can collect more of them when you see them. Mix the termite nests with wood ash and apply them on the walls. This can greatly improve the waterproof performance of the house. So this thing has this kind of use. Everyone suddenly understood and had no doubt about Su Qianqian's words. Chief Su, you should have told me earlier. I saw a lot of termite nests when I went to collect leaves on the opposite hillside a few days ago. I'm going to get more now. After that, the slaves excitedly rushed up the mountain with their tools. After several days of hard work, the house was almost built. It only needed to be aired for a day or two before they could move in, so Su Qianqian didn't stop them from going. Hey, Chief Su. Shi Yuan came up and curled his lips awkwardly after just saying a few words. Alas, I'm still not used to calling you Chief Su. I'd better call you Su Mu. Are you so confident in letting so many slaves go up the mountain together? Aren't you afraid that they will encounter danger? Su Qianqian glanced at him and said, I can't protect them forever. Even though they are slaves, if they don't dare to face even the slightest danger, then what's the point of building this tribe? These slave orcs are very good. Although she has asked them to call her Chief Su instead of Master, if these slaves are afraid to face the dangers and difficulties of the outside world because of the long-term oppression they have suffered and become cowards who only live in the tribe, then it will be meaningless for her to save these people. What she wanted to save was not only the physical freedom of the slaves, but also their spiritual freedom, so that they could face everything in the outside world bravely, like normal orcs. To put it bluntly, she didn't want these slaves to just be freeloaders. Shi Yuan touched his nose and said, I can't believe you are still a strict clan leader. Of course not. Su Qianqian raised her chin slightly. I'm still a little worried. I'll follow and take a look. Shi Feng, with an old-fashioned personality, picked up the tools and chased after the crowd. Then I'll go too. Nan Wu followed him when he saw this. Shi Yuan sighed. You guys are boring. Well, I'd better go find some mountain cats to play with. Su Qianqian glared at him. Don't bother Shan Mao, he's helping me deal with things. Oh, are those things called soap beans that you picked up last time? Shi Yuan poked his head out and looked at an open space, not far away. Shan Mao was leading a few young slaves to put the dried soap beans into the stone mill, preparing to grind them into fine powder. The soap beans are like pig's teeth, dry and hard, and very troublesome to grind. Shi Yuan took a look and couldn't help complaining. Why do you always like to do these weird things? It's fine if you like to do it, but you have to let Shan Mao do it with you. You'll know when the time comes. Su Qianqian didn't want to say more. Anyway, it would surely amaze everyone when it was done. She looked across the river, feeling itchy, so she said, I'll go over there and take a look. If you have nothing to do, go help the mountain cats. After saying that, Su Qianqian left Shi Yuan behind and walked towards the river alone. Stepping over the thick wooden pole, Su Qianqian walked towards the woods on the other side of the river. Maybe it's just because there's a river between us. The land here is quite fertile, and there are many trees around. If there's not enough land in the tribe to grow crops in the future, we can move here. Su Qianqian was observing her surroundings while making plans in her mind. As I was watching, an inconspicuous, white color suddenly came into view in the grass, not far away. Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment, then walked over to take a look. The white thing was buried in the mud, like a film. It was cylindrical, translucent, and as thin as a cicada's wing, shining with crystal-clear light in the sun. What is this? Su Qianqian picked up a branch, dug up the soil next to it, and took a closer look. Suddenly she realized this. Isn't this snake skin? The shed skin of the snake. Su Qianqian was so scared that she dropped the branch in her hand and quickly took 2 steps back, looking around constantly. Oh my God, could there be a snake that had just shed its skin here? But after looking around carefully, she found that there was no other living creature here except herself. Su Qianqian bravely picked up the branch again and used the thin end to pick out the entire snake skin buried in the ground. If I remember correctly, the skin shed by this snake is an expensive Chinese medicinal material. She was a little afraid. Su Qianqian couldn't control her hands because of her greed for money. After she cleaned off all the dirt buried on the snake skin, she was surprised to find that the snake skin was very long, large, and thick. It seemed to be more than 10 meters long. However, the snake skin was not intact. Some parts were black, as if they had been burnt by something. Some parts were torn and stained with blood, as if they had been torn from the body alive. Su Qianqian guessed that this was probably a snake that failed to shed its skin. However, I heard that shedding its skin would consume a lot of energy for snakes and make them very weak. The snake should have left this place a long time ago and instead found a secluded cave to recuperate. After fiddling with the snake skin a few times, Su Qianqian was no longer afraid. When she was about to put away the snake skin and leave, she suddenly heard a rustling sound coming from the bushes next to her. Su Qianqian's scalp felt tingling. No way. Could it be that the owner of the snakeskin had come back? She took a deep breath, and ice crystals began to condense in her palms. She was ready for a fierce fight, but when she turned around, she saw a half-grown boy covered in scars, leaning sideways, staring at her coldly and almost squeezing out a voice through his teeth. "Put down what you have in your hand." The boy has black hair and black eyes, a cold white complexion, and extremely beautiful eyebrows and eyes. Even if only half of his face is exposed, he gives people a stunning feeling created by the collision of pure and strong colors. Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment, and it took her a while to come back to her senses from the amazement. She immediately hugged the snake skin in the sea tightly. "Why?"
This is what I saw first.
"You." The young man stared at her, and a scarlet glow seemed to flash quietly in his beautiful black eyes. Su Qianqian didn't notice anything. She looked down at the snake skin in her arms, then looked at the boy in front of her suspiciously, and asked uncertainly, "This snake skin, is it yours?" The furious boy was startled for a moment, then turned his head away. "It's not mine. I don't think it's yours," Su Qianqian said, and decisively stuffed the snake skin into her storage ring. This snake skin was obviously shed by a giant snake that was more than 10 meters long. This half-grown boy looked about the same size as a mountain cat, so how could he possibly shed such a large snake skin? Seeing her shameless appearance, the young man took a deep breath and stood up and left decisively as if he had made some important decision. When he stood up, Su Qianqian could see more clearly the scars all over his body. However, these wounds were very strange, as if his skin had been peeled off alive. They were bloody and particularly terrifying. For some reason, Su Qianqian suddenly remembered the wandering orc named Shura. Because he was branded with a slave mark, he had no choice but to have that piece of skin branded with the slave mark peeled off alive, leaving his body covered in bruises and scars that could never be erased. Seeing the boy about to leave, Su Qianqian quickly called out to him, "Hey, wait a minute." The boy seemed to have not heard her words at all and just walked forward on his own. He walked left a pool of blood. "Shocking. You're so badly injured. How can you still run around?" Su Qianqian could only step forward and grab the boy. The boy seemed very weak, his body was limp, and he had no strength. After Su Qianqian pulled him lightly, he stumbled and fell to the ground. Su Qianqian hurried to help him. The boy raised his head, and the bloody right half of his face immediately came into view. Su Qianqian was startled. The boy reacted and immediately turned his head away, covering his bloody right face. The voice from his throat had the clear and low-pitched tone that only teenagers have, but also contained a hint of nervousness. "Don't look." Okay. I won't look." Su Qianqian quickly looked away. "Don't get excited. If you get excited, more blood will flow from your body." The boy still didn't listen to her and stared at Su Qianqian's hand holding his wrist with dark and persistent eyes. "Let go." Hearing his cold and emotionless words, Su Qianqian could only let go of the boy's wrist. As soon as the boy took off his restraints, he turned around and left without even looking at Su Qianqian. His steps were slow and difficult, and every step seemed like he was trying hard to endure great pain. But after taking only 2 steps, he seemed to be unable to hold on any longer and fell straight to the ground, fainting. Su Qianqian looked at him, sighed helplessly, and then walked forward. What on earth had this guy gone through? Why was he so weak? Su Qianqian shook her head helplessly and finally bent down and carried the boy from the ground. After returning to the tribe, Su Qianqian first placed the boy in a newly built house, and then went to find the mountain cat. Shan Mao and his men were processing the ground soap beans. When they saw her coming, they immediately waved at her excitedly and said, "Brother Sumo, come and see. Is it okay to grind the soap beans like this?" Su Qianqian walked forward and took a closer look. The soap beans were ground very finely. They were rich in saponins, which could produce foam and be used to wash clothes and hair. The finer the soap beans were ground, the denser and richer the foam produced by the soap made later. These slaves really worked hard. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. You did a great job, great.
Su Qianqian blushed generously.
Several slaves blushed after being praised by Su Qianqian. They are young and cannot do any work as well as the older orcs, nor can they go up the mountains to hunt, so they have always been worried that they cannot contribute to the tribe. However, Su Qianqian did not despise them for this. Instead, she assigned them other tasks. Although they didn't know what the use of grinding these soap berries was, since it was a task assigned by the patriarch himself, they would definitely do their best to complete it. Su Qianqian grabbed 2 handfuls of soap bean crumbs and kneaded them, then continued to instruct. The first step is completed. The next step is to go to the river and fetch a few basins of clean water. Soak the soap beans in the water. Remember, soak them for at least 2 days, change the water every day, and remove the impurities that have settled in it. Good. Several slaves responded in unison and ran to the river to fetch water. Shan Mao was about to follow, but Su Qianqian called out, "Shan Mao, wait a minute. I have something to ask you." The mountain cat was stunned when he heard this. "What? What's the matter?" "That's it." Su Qianqian pulled the mountain cat aside, then took out the snake skin from the storage ring. "Do you recognize the snake skin?" The mountain cat looked at the snake skin in silence for 2 seconds, then raised his head and looked at Su Qianqian with a very strange look. "Where did you get it from? What are you looking at?" "I picked up this snake skin, I didn't steal it." But after she finished speaking, the look in Bobcat's eyes became even weirder. Su Qianqian felt frightened by the look in her eyes and couldn't help asking, "Can I pick up this snake skin?" "Of course you can't just pick them up casually." The mountain cat looked at her numbly. When male snake beast men reach maturity, they will bury their shed skins. When female snakes smell the scent and want to mate, they will dig it out. At this time, the male snake will come to find the female, Su Qianqian. No, this snake skin actually has this kind of meaning? She doesn't know. Then should I bury it again? It's too late. The snake skin is stained with your scent. They will definitely follow the scent to find you. At this point, the mountain cat looked at the snake skin in her hand helplessly and said, "Male snake beast men value the first female who picks up their snake skin very much. This has a very important special meaning to them. And the snake skin in your hand is obviously left by a mature male snake beast man." Su Qianqian was a little panicked when she heard this. Then, what should we do? She had no idea snakeskin was such a personal thing. Alas, if I had known earlier, I should not have taken advantage of this little advantage. The mountain cat sighed and said, "There's nothing we can do. We'll just have to take it one step at a time. I think this snakeskin is fresh. It should have been shed not long ago. After a snake sheds its skin, it will be in a very weak state. In order to avoid predators and danger, they usually find a safe place to hide and will not come out until they have recovered. You should take advantage of this time to quickly get rid of the snake skin and remove the smell on your body. Then the male snake should not be able to find you. Is this okay?" Su Qianqian touched the snake skin in her hand uncertainly. It felt surprisingly good, not rough at all, but very smooth. She couldn't help but ask again, "Lynx cat, can you help me see what kind of snake this is?" The mountain cat took a closer look and then shook his head. "I don't know." "Hey, aren't you of the vulture family? How come you don't know what kind of snake this is?" "I'm not a snake orc. How can I recognize what kind of snake this is at a glance?" The mountain cat looked at her helplessly. "Although I have a small amount of serpent blood in my body, I know very little about cold-blooded beasts like snakes. What's more, real serpents are extremely rare, even rarer than female orcs. I have never seen what the skin shed by a serpent looks like. Then, do you think this snake skin is from a vulture?" Su Qianqian asked with a frown, touching the patterns on the snake's skin. I don't think it's a snake. The mountain cat also frowned and looked carefully at the pattern on the snake's skin. The pattern was complex, mysterious, and beautiful, with an indescribable, unique charm. It should be a snake of a higher level than the vulture. However, in this beast world, he really didn't know that there were other species of snakes that were more mysterious and advanced than the vampire snakes. Anyway, don't pick up strange and dangerous things like this casually in the future, Bobcat said at the end, and couldn't help but give another reminder. Okay. Su Qianqian nodded quickly, but halfway through, she added, Oh, by the way, I also picked up someone. Bobcat. That pierced through space seemed to still linger in his ears, powerful and terrifying, like a nightmare, tightly entangling him. My chest feels heavy, and as if I'm suffocating. Under the rumbling thunder, a voice seemed to be calling him. Run. Mian Tian suddenly opened his eyes and saw Su Qianqian's face. You finally woke up. The girl looked at him in surprise. Her almond-shaped eyes were clear and bright, with a sparkling light, as if she could suck people in with just a few more glances. Her voice was just like in the dream, soft, clear, and extremely beautiful. Are you all right? Su Qianqian looked at the sweat on the boy's forehead and the frightened look on his face, and quickly picked up the towel beside him to help wipe it, while comforting him. Don't be afraid. You must have had a nightmare. Dreams are fake. But the young man turned his head coldly and avoided the handkerchief in Su Qianqian's hand. When he turned his head, he saw the mountain cat standing next to him. Realizing that there were strange orcs in the room, his eyes darkened. The mountain cat keenly caught this unfriendly gaze, quietly moved closer to Su Qianqian, and lowered his voice and said, Are you sure? The orc you picked up is safe? I don't think he looks like an ordinary orc. Su Qianqian lowered her voice and replied, I think he is a slave who escaped from some tribe. Look at the wounds on his body. He is so young. If I don't take care of him, he might die outside. The two men did not deliberately avoid the boy on the bed during their conversation. So when Mian Tian heard the words, still so young, he lowered his eyes and glanced at his body with a little surprise. My body was wrapped with strange white strips of cloth, which made me feel very uncomfortable, but the wounds inexplicably didn't hurt anymore. He also smelled a faint medicinal fragrance from under the strips of cloth, which was refreshing and seemed to soothe the pain in his body. Anyway, almost all of our tribe are slaves, so one more is not too much, so we should just be more tolerant. After Su Qianqian finished speaking, she turned around and looked at the boy on the bed, smiling and asked, By the way, what's your name? The young man looked at Su Qianqian, who was smiling brightly at him, and unconsciously pursed his pale lips, and uttered two words expressionlessly. Mian Tian. Then I will call you Xiaomian from now on. Su Qianqian smiled and handed him the porcelain bowl on the stone table next to her. I see you haven't eaten for a few days. Eat something and have a good rest. Don't worry, this is my tribe. No one will chase you away, and no one will bully you. After making arrangements for the new boy, Su Qianqian took Shan Mao out. The door was closed considerately, leaving the room in silence. Mian Tian looked at the bowl that was forced into his hands. It contained finely chopped meat and crystal-clear rice. He didn't know how it was cooked, but it smelled very delicious. He tilted his head slightly and looked out the window of the house. Su Qianqian was gathering the slaves of the tribe, and no one knew what they were talking about. The girl was surrounded by many slaves. She seemed to be talking about something happy. She had a beautiful smile on her face. At first glance, it felt as if one was bathing in mid-spring and feeling warm all over. Mian Tian stared at Su Qianqian outside for an unknown amount of time. His originally dark and cold eyes softened unconsciously. However, these slight warmth came and went quickly, and were quickly obscured by the vast indifference. Mian Tian silently withdrew his gaze and looked down at his hands that were wrapped in white cloth. The finger bones are long and slender, but they belong to a pair of strange and young hands. The snake sheds its skin in a way that uses scales to reshape its body. Every time it sheds its skin, it feels like it is reborn. If the thunder tribulation this time was not too fierce, the injuries were not too severe and too much physical energy was consumed, causing him to be unable to maintain his human form and degenerate into a juvenile form. How could he be so small? At this moment, Su Qianqian was discussing housing arrangements with the slaves. The house has been built. Although it looks a bit simple on the outside, it is completely suitable for living. Finally, after everyone's unanimous decision, 2 or 3 male orcs would live in one room, while females would be treated slightly better and could have a room to themselves. But let me make it clear first. In my tribe, you are not allowed to force females to become pregnant, nor are you allowed to force females to form mates. If you want to give birth to a cub, you must obtain the female's consent. After the housing and accommodation were arranged, Su Qianqian began to establish the clan rules. Although she came from the modern world and received modern monogamous marriage education, she did not force the orcs to practice monogamy. After all, this was the orc world, and she could not change the traditions here. What's more, the number of females is really too scarce. In her newly built tribe, there is only one female cub, Xiaojiu. Monogamy is simply impossible to implement. Reproduction is the instinct of animals. It is something engraved in their genes that can never be erased and cannot be changed. If monogamy were really implemented, the entire beast race would be extinct due to the extremely low fertility rate. If she wants the tribe to continue to develop, she must not only not stop the orcs from forming couples, but also strongly support them in having children. Of course, all this must be based on the consent of both males and females. Of course, if you have a crush on someone, you can tell us, and we can pick a good day to hold a couples meeting. As soon as Su Qianqian said this, she was immediately greeted with cheers, and several female orcs even lowered their heads shyly. Hey, now that the houses have been allocated, shouldn't we give the tribe a name? Shi Yuan said, other tribes have names, and our tribe must also have a mighty and domineering name, so that it sounds good when we say it out loud. Yes, yes, yes. The orcs nodded one after another. We need to give it a name first. Everyone started to speak enthusiastically. I think we should call it Qinghe Tribe. There is a river next to where we live. The water is clear, and there are fish to eat. No, this doesn't sound good. Our tribe leader is called Sumo, so why not call it the Sumu tribe? What a good name.
Sumusagens zo dominering.
Even the 4 great wizards of Wanshou City are afraid of him.
Huh?
That won't work. What if the 4 great wizards come to seek revenge based on my name? Don't worry, they don't dare. They are too busy with the affairs of the City of Beasts right now. How can they have time to deal with us? Seeing everyone discussing, Su Qianqian couldn't help but join in. Forget about the name Sumu. Think of another one. Although Sumo is just her pseudonym, she doesn't want the tribe to use her name, as it would sound weird. At this time, Shifeng said, I think we should call it the 10,000 Beast Tribe. We live in the 10,000 Beast Forest, and there are orcs of all races in the tribe. In the future, there will definitely be more and more orcs in our tribe, and slowly grow to tens of thousands of orcs. It would be more appropriate to call it the 10,000 Beast Tribe. What a nice name. I can listen to it. The tribe of 10,000 beasts, it sounds so majestic. As expected, Shifeng's suggestions were unanimously praised by everyone. Su Qianqian was satisfied with what she heard, so she nodded and said, then let's call it the 10,000 Beast Tribe from now on. After the name of the tribe was decided, everyone could no longer wait and scattered in all directions, rushing to see the allocated houses. More than a dozen small houses are built in rows on this flat land. From a distance, it looks like a small village hidden in a paradise. The house was simply furnished with no fine furniture, only a stone table, a wooden bed made of 4 stones and 2 wooden boards, and a simple animal skin mattress on top. It still made the orcs feel extremely satisfied. This is your own home. Small but cozy. The housing and shelter problems have been basically solved, and there is no need to worry about food for the time being. Next, Su Qianqian wants to make the soap as soon as possible. We are still in the hot season. Although the heavy rain has temporarily solved the drought and drinking water problems, the weather is still too hot. It is not possible to reclaim the land for farming now. The temperature is too high, and the plant seedlings will dry up and die. There is another important reason. The weather is too hot. The orcs work frequently and are covered in sweat. The smell is too strong. If they do not pay attention to hygiene, it is very easy for bacteria to breed and cause illness. When there are too many people, diseases will spread. Therefore, make soap as soon as possible so that the orcs can learn to clean and take care of themselves, which can also reduce the occurrence of diseases. Su Qianqian was about to go to Shan Mao and the others to check on the soaking of the soapberry when Shi Yuan came up to her and asked indirectly, "I heard from Shan Mao that you picked up a slave?" Su Qianqian nodded. Although he was a slave before, now that he lives in our tribe, we can no longer call him a slave. In our 10,000 Beasts tribe, we treat everyone equally. There is no slave or not. I know. Shi Yuan nodded repeatedly. But I heard from Shan Mao that the guy looked very fierce and didn't seem like someone who would be easy to get along with. I was afraid that you would pick up something you shouldn't have picked up, and if something happened. Don't worry, he's still a child, about the same size as a mountain cat. Nothing will happen to him. Su Qianqian patted Shi Yuan's shoulder to comfort him. She could understand Shi Yuan's worries, but she couldn't judge a person's goodness or badness based on his appearance. When she looked at this child, she found that he was very similar to herself when she was a child and had just been abandoned by her parents. At that time, she was like a hedgehog, wrapping herself in a sharp shell and stabbing anyone who touched her. She fell into constant internal friction and self-doubt, asking herself over and over again what she had done wrong that made her parents dislike her so much. She became self-deprecating and sensitive, afraid of contact with outsiders. Like a wounded trapped beast, she trapped herself in her shell layer by layer, not daring to face people or things in the outside world. If it weren't for her grandparents' companionship and careful care over the past decade, she couldn't imagine what her future would be like. Perhaps because she is an experienced person, she can better understand the boy's awkward state of mind. In fact, there are many people like this. In her previous world, many adults, after having a certain economic ability, would first satisfy their unmet needs in childhood and support themselves again. Some people, because of their original family, need a lifetime to heal their unfortunate childhood when they grow up. She is unfortunate, but also lucky. People will eventually be trapped throughout their lives by the things that they could not obtain when they were young, but they will also eventually be freed from their lifelong troubles by one event or one scene. Su Qianqian withdrew her thoughts, patted Shi Yuan on the shoulder again, and said, "Shi Yuan, I have something to do for you. If you have nothing to do recently, take everyone to the mountain to collect some straw, and I will teach you how to make straw sandals." Straw sandals? Shi Yuan's attention was instantly diverted, and he asked hurriedly, "What are straw sandals? Is it something you wear on your feet?" Su Qianqian nodded. "Yes, wearing it on your feet can protect your feet from getting hurt. Anyway, go find some straw first, and I'll teach you how to make it when you come back." Okay. After knowing this new thing, Shi Yuan could no longer endure and ran away. Su Qianqian finally had time to take care of her own things. Shan Mao and his men were very diligent. They soaked the soapberries in several large stone basins and cleaned out all the impurities and dirt. After Su Qianqian looked at it carefully, she nodded with satisfaction. "We can take them all out and dry them tomorrow. After they are dried, prepare a few more large pots, and I will teach you how to stir-fry them over high heat. Heating and stir-frying the soap beans can remove toxins and impurities in them, which is a very important step." "Good." Shan Mao and the others nodded and took note of Su Qianqian's words. The tribe was established not long ago, and there are many things to do. After a busy day, Su Qianqian hardly had any rest, but she didn't feel tired at all and instead felt extremely fulfilled. Having dinner with everyone, Su Qianqian was about to go back to her room. Her eyes accidentally fell on the setting sun. Then she realized that she seemed to have not visited the boy she had picked up all day. Su Qianqian turned and went to another room. She stood in front of the door and knocked on it with her fingers, but there was no response from inside. As expected, Su Qianqian simply pushed the door open and walked straight in. The light in the room was a little dim. The young man sat quietly on the bed, still looking cold and indifferent, with jet black hair, cold pale skin, and quiet and cold. He lowered his head slightly, his whole body shrouded in shadow, and his expression could not be seen clearly. But the moment she stepped into the house, Su Qianqian still felt the overwhelming chill. As he approached step by step, the young man suddenly raised his head. His thin face looked unusually cold in the darkness. He stared at her and said quietly, "Where have you been?" "What?" Hearing this slightly resentful tone, Su Qianqian couldn't help but tease. "You miss me after just one day of not seeing me?" Looked away in silence. Su Qianqian walked forward with a smile, lifted the animal skin blanket draped over him, and took out a small box of medicine from the storage ring, saying, "Come, it's time to change the medicine." Mian Tian glanced at the exquisite medicine box in her hand. The ointment inside exuded an extremely strong medicinal fragrance, which made people feel inexplicably comfortable and their minds couldn't help but relax. He lowered his eyes and stretched out his bandaged arm. Su Qianqian untied the bandage and exclaimed in surprise after just one look, "Hey, your injury healed pretty quickly." In just one day, the bloody skin had healed and new flesh had begun to grow. The healing effect was comparable to her wood-based ability. Mian Tian pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. Su Qianqian was also used to his silence, so she didn't ask any questions and silently applied medicine to his arm. After applying the medicine on his arm, Su Qianqian applied some ointment to his face. "Come on, turn your right cheek over." Mian Tian hesitated for 2 seconds, then turned his right cheek away. The wounds on her face healed faster than those on her body. Su Qianqian suppressed her suspicion and stretched out her fingers to apply the ointment. Although she applied it extremely gently, the ointment was still a little irritating to the sensitive skin on her cheeks. Some slight stinging pain. Mian Tian frowned almost imperceptibly, but his expression did not show at all. He glanced sideways and saw Su Qianqian's face, which was focused and full of tenderness and concern, as she leaned over his shoulder. She was very close to him, so close that he could clearly smell the faint fragrance emanating from the girl, mixed with the medicinal scent at the tip of his nose, intertwined into an indescribable smell that made his heart beat wildly for no apparent reason. The girl's fingertips, with the coolness of the ointment, brushed the skin of her cheeks like a feather, leaving behind a warm touch. Mian Tian's eyes drooped, and the fingers placed at his sides curled up slightly, uncontrollably. "All right." As Su Qianqian stood up and distanced herself from him, Mian Tian's slightly curled fingers paused, and a subtle feeling of failure flashed across his mind. However, the next second, the girl leaned over again and said, "There is also a wound on your back. Turn your back." This time Mian Tian didn't move. "Why are you shy? I was the one who gave you the medicine when you were unconscious last time," Su Qianqian said, pulling the animal skin blanket he was wearing. "Hurry up, don't dawdle. I have other things to do after giving you the medicine." Mian Tian clenched his fingers around the only piece of animal skin he had left on his body, like he was grabbing the last piece of fig leaf, and said stubbornly and coldly, "I can do it myself. You have a lot of wounds on your back. How are you going to apply medicine on yourself?" Su Qianqian said helplessly, "If you don't want me to apply it on you, I'll call Shan Mao, okay?" Hearing that she was going to call someone else, Mian Tian lowered his eyes and tightened his grip on the animal skin mattress. But after hesitating for a few seconds, he finally compromised and let go. Su Qianqian quickened her pace and quickly applied medicine to Mian Tian's back. But this guy had too many injuries on his back, and the most serious ones were like extensive burns and scalds. It looked bloody and horrible. I don't know how this guy could endure such pain. After applying medicine on his back, Su Qianqian bandaged his wound with gauze, clapped her hands and said, "Okay, you can rest now. I'm leaving first. If you need anything, you can call me. I'll live in a room next to yours." There are many houses built in the tribe, and many of them are left empty. On the one hand, they are intended to be used for future orcs to live in, and on the other hand, they are also intended to be used to store supplies in the tribe. However, as soon as Su Qianqian turned around, Mian Tian, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up. Where is the snakeskin? Su Qianqian turned around and said, I threw it away, what's wrong? You threw it away? There was a flash of disbelief in the boy's black eyes, but then they turned cold and silent in an instant, without any emotion visible.
Fine.
But his tone was even colder than before. Su Qianqian couldn't help but shook her head and said, Don't be angry. Snakeskin is not a good thing. Besides, you're still young. If you really want it, consider it when you're old.
Fine.
But his tone was even colder than before. Su Qianqian couldn't help but shook her head and said, Don't be angry. Snakeskin is not a good thing. Besides, you're still young. If you really want it, consider it when you're older. As soon as these words came out, the young man seemed to be stabbed with something painful again. He immediately raised his... Su Qianqian expressed her confusion. She left the room and went straight back to her own room. As soon as Su Qianqian entered the room, she immediately closed the door and opened the plane trading system. On the translucent panel, the message from the little witch was clearly displayed. What happened? Why did you suddenly send me so many messages? Su Qianqian quickly replied, You're still asking. Why didn't you tell me that the disguise cloak would become ineffective if it got wet? Didn't I tell you about this? Su Qianqian. She took a deep breath and replied again. Yes, you didn't say that. You've caused me so much trouble. Perhaps because Su Qianqian's tone was too accusatory, the other party was silent for a long time before sending a message. Well, don't be angry, it's okay if I was wrong. How about you send the disguise cloak over and I'll rework it and put some waterproof material on it? Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes and said bluntly, Will you not return it to me? How is this possible? Am I the kind of person who doesn't keep his word? As if afraid that Su Qianqian would not believe it, the other party sent another screenshot of the system's trading rules. Look, the plane system has clearly stipulated that items that have been traded cannot be returned for any reason. If I don't return the items to you, I will be punished by the plane system. Su Qianqian took a look at the screenshots and said with relief, Okay, then help me get the invisibility cloak back to work. The invisibility cloak is also ineffective? No, I remember adding waterproof material to this. Su Qianqian. Oh, that's not the case. The invisibility cloak was punctured with a hole, and I'm afraid it will affect the effect, so I plan to ask you to help repair it. That won't work. The invisibility cloak is broken, it's your problem. If you want to repair it, you need to pay extra. Su Qianqian. All right. She had expected this result a long time ago, and it turned out not to be so easy to get away with. How many star coins are needed? It depends on what repair materials you need to add. The little witch made a long list. If you just want to repair the cloak, it only costs 20,000 star coins. If you want to add protective materials to make the cloak indestructible, it will cost 80,000 star coins. If you want to change the color of the cloak to make it prettier, it will cost 100,000 star coins. Oh, by the way, I also have a material package option that can change the style of the cloak. After a lot of blah blah, the other party added one last sentence. Of course, if you add all these ingredients, I can give you a discount. Su Qianqian took a quick glance and replied decisively, No need to be so troublesome. Just add protective materials. After saying that, she quickly transferred 80,000 star coins over. Okay. After saying a lot but still failing to sell the product, the little witch replied with a hint of disappointment in her tone, Then I'll fix it for you as soon as possible. Only after sending both cloaks over did Su Qianqian feel relieved. A big issue that had been weighing on my mind was finally resolved. After the two cloaks were broken, she felt insecure and was restricted in everything she did. She did not dare to leave the forest of beasts easily. However, after the two cloaks are repaired, she can go out and have fun again, haha. Su Qianqian turned off the plane system in a very good mood, then took out a bathtub that was more than one person tall from the storage ring, filled it with water, stripped off her clothes, and jumped in.
Phew. So cool.
Su Qianqian leaned comfortably against the wall of the bucket, slowly feeling the water flowing through her body, as if all the hard work and fatigue of the past few days were washed away by the water. However, as she was taking a comfortable bath with her eyes slightly closed, A pair of scarlet vertical pupils quietly flashed through her hazy consciousness. Su Qianqian paused, stood up suddenly, opened her eyes very alertly, and used her special ability to look around, but there was nothing. Did she not get enough rest, so she had hallucinations? Su Qianqian once again explored her special abilities, and the area within a radius of dozens of miles, including the entire tribe, was almost shrouded in her consciousness. I didn't see anything suspicious. Now in the tribe, her supernatural power is the most powerful, and no one can escape her search. I must have really seen it wrong. Su Qianqian leaned back against the wooden barrel again. Oh, she scared herself. She was probably shocked by the thunder of tribulation in Wanshou City, and she kept thinking of a giant python in her mind from time to time. Those were also a pair of vertical pupils as red as blood beads. In the beast world, very few orcs have red eyes. It was probably because the snake-shedding technique the guy practiced required a large amount of blood to reshape his body. He sucked too much blood,